The tape. We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play. We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. We ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play. We ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
The tape.
UGA game day, boy, we ball out. Pull up with the whole conference in the doghouse. Leave them 6 feet, see me on the win streak. All-star status, go coach and the bench deep. Offense on 10, how we run it? Your best ain't nothing, we gon' send them boys punting. Black and red, got them dead on arrival. Defense hunker down for the tie. Hey, you don't want it with the dogs. Found guy on it, you don't want it with my dog. Break it down, play by play, that's the day-to-day. They know we ain't come to play, boy, it's UGA. Kirby smart, I cannot play the fool. Back to back, we did not come to lose. Back to back like we got something to prove. Pay your dues, dog nation on the move. What's up?
We do it a little bit different around here.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
The tape. The tape.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face.
Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Shut up and grind the tape.
Shut up. Let's grind.
We ain't gonna play, we ain't gonna play. Them dogs in your face. Shut up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape.
The tape. The
Shut
tape.
up and grind.
Let's grind.
Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape. Shut up and grind. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro. Grind the tape, bro.
Shut up. The tape.
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to MBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
12 entire years as J. Will goes over to Boss Man's desk.
I think it's my new spot, honestly.
You like it?
I think I might just deem it mine.
Well, we'll see. We'll see if you're singing that tune when he comes back through the door.
Like,
today.
what if he comes back and I just refuse to get up? Do you think he'd like forcefully remove myself from the chair?
I would honestly like to see that. So please don't get up when it comes in. But no, 12 years. What is that? Is that how long it's going to take Brooks to get here today? Is that how old J. Will was when we learned to tie his shoes? Perhaps it's how long it's been since Auburn was a national championship contending football team. No, it's how long Clemson and Notre Dame are going to play consecutively. For the next 12 seasons, the Clemson Tigers and Notre Dame Fighting Irish have agreed to play each other consecutively, which is honestly massive news. It's not really conference realignment problems, but it has allowed for two teams that don't typically play each other. I know Notre Dame has a series with Florida State every now and then, but this is big news, J. Will.
Yeah, it is big news. I guess it's more significant for, well, really, I guess, like, this is significant for both teams now that I think about it right now in the moment. When I first saw it, it was like, well, this makes complete sense for Notre Dame because as conferences continue to change, or what we expect, or how we expect them to continue to change, of how Clemson and Florida State are kind of setting themselves up to eventually join another conference, remove themselves from the ACC. I think that makes sense for them, but also, like, Notre Dame, they need an opponent like Clemson to continue themselves in this realm of, we are a competitive college football team. We have an opponent like Clemson to kind of stay relevant. Not that Notre Dame would ever dip off in relevancy, but for Clemson, like, if they do join the SEC and it's in the next 2 years, Now you're tied down to also playing Notre Dame. Like, is this something that you think that they'll just scrap off the table? Like, if Clemson does join the SEC or even the Big Ten, if that were to happen, you think that they just say, never mind, we're going to kick Notre Dame off the schedule? Do you think they just ride this thing out for the entire way and just deal with having a tough schedule every single year because Notre Dame is on it?
Yeah, no, it's definitely something to think. Before we get too far into this subject, I do want to welcome everyone in. We are talking about Notre Dame signing a deal, or Clemson signing a deal with Notre Dame to play for the next 12 seasons. We're also going to touch on Jim Knowles said that he would have stayed at Ohio State if it were for one thing. We play a little game of which shoes would you rather be in. We'll name two coaches, and you pick which situation you would rather be in. We're going to do our post-spring top 25. Everyone's given the top 25 rankings this year, so me, J-Will, and Brooks aside, we'll do our own. And then lastly, Steve Sarkisian wants one major change in college football and has a pretty valid argument for it. So we'll touch on all those things. But before we do all that, please hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, do everything you can to support the podcast. It helps us stay up on the stream and bring you wonderful, lovely content. But no, Jay, well, you're right. I do think this is absolutely important for both teams to kind of have a meeting like this, especially if Clemson either goes in the SEC or doesn't. And honestly, my thought was, could this be something that keeps Clemson in the ACC? Because you would have to imagine that if you do an SEC, if you go to SEC conference alignment, this deal falls through. You're not going to want to play an SEC schedule on top of Notre Dame, who has clearly emerged as one of these top 15, top 10 teams under Marcus Freeman, it looks like. So we've seen before, you sign these deals where, we're going to play a home and home, or we're going to play 3 games 10 years down the road. You would imagine that if Clemson goes to the SEC, that gets nixed. So my wonder is this something that Clemson is doing in preparation of staying in the ACC?
I wouldn't think so. It feels like they've done so much work or set themselves up so much so that they are like they've done too much to already kind of put one foot out the door to want to leave the ACC. And the ACC has kind of finally bent their knee to them and Florida State, saying, like, fine, like if this is ultimately what you guys want to do, then I guess we can do nothing to stop you at this point. We'll just kind of let you go and let you guys be. But I mean, maybe, but at the same time, like the only way that I think that this would be a way for Clemson to stay in the ACC is if eventually Notre Dame finally is like, all right, we'll join the ACC. We're already like an unofficial member of this conference pretty much based on who they play every single year. And especially in other sports, they are a member of the ACC, but I don't see that happening either. I think it's just more so about like in today's world of college football, you're in a 12-team playoff expansion. Like having tougher opponents doesn't hurt you as much as it did in years prior. Like having one loss on the schedule or things like that, like it doesn't hurt you as much. Where in years prior you could have a cupcake of a schedule, go undefeated, make your way into the 14 playoff, and have a shot at winning a national title.
I was going to say that Notre Dame joining the ACC in college football almost never happened, especially with the way that this conference alignment is, or the playoff realignment is set up. Even if we go to 16 teams, where Notre Dame is basically given that non-conference bid already, like they are one of the sitting prettiest teams. Basically, if you go 10-12, you could even probably go 9-3 every year if you're Notre Dame. You will be a playoff team. So joining a conference and having to fall under the parameters of win your conference championship, play that one extra game in the postseason, they're never going to do that. So I think Notre Dame joining the ACC is off the table. I do think one other thing that we need to discuss coming out of this was that this kind of bucks the narrative that I know Brooks talked about this a lot, that no one's going to want to schedule Notre Dame. There's no incentive to do it. There's no incentive to play a really tough non-conference opponent schedule when conference schedules are going to be 8-9 games of really, really tough interconference games. We all just talked about it. SEC's harder to win, and Big Ten's harder to win. Big 12 is almost impossible to win and to predict that. ACC has presumably gotten a little easier to win in, but it's still not easy to do. So the idea that Notre Dame was kind of going to be one of these teams where good luck finding a quality schedule because no one's going to want to schedule you worth the salt. You're going to have to play the Navies, you're going to have to play the Ball States, maybe the Vanderbilts of the world to build up your schedule. That doesn't seem to be the case here. You've got, Clemson signing these things to play with them. Didn't they sign something with Texas as well?
Clemson?
Or, excuse me, Notre Dame?
I don't know. That's a good question.
I vividly remember for the 2026 and 7 season, I thought Notre Dame were going to play Texas, but I could absolutely be misremembering that.
Maybe in 2029 they play Texas?
Perhaps. Either way, I think that
Whoa.
What?
I just happened to stumble across this projected 2029 football schedule for Notre Dame. They play Alabama the first week. They play Texas in week 3. And then they also play Florida State a couple weeks after that. And then Clemson also is in that schedule as well.
Good God.
Don't be holding out your hopes for 2029 Notre Dame football based on that schedule. I mean, holy cow.
Yeah, but I mean, the reality of that also is like that shoots down the narrative that no one's going to want to schedule Notre Dame, which I don't understand personally why you would do it. I think Brooks has a point too. If you're going to play a really tough 8 to 9 conference schedule, why would you add Notre Dame to the mix when you can get your 2 or 3 breather games and, you know, the one kind of, all right, this is a fun non-conference game that doesn't mean much. Like, Notre Dame is a tough opponent to play. So it's very interesting that Clemson's scheduling this.
And maybe that is like something to add on to this conversation about Clemson wanting to leave the conference. Maybe this kind of pivots into another direction that maybe it's not going to happen as soon as we thought it would, or maybe Clemson is just kind of taking care of both sides to where if they do stay in the ACC, they will play Notre Dame. They kind of beef up the schedule a little bit. Nobody can ever say, they have a weak schedule because at least they have Notre Dame in the mix. And then if they do join the SEC or the Big Ten, then they can just kind of chop it off and say, never mind, we're not doing this anymore. So I think it can kind of go both ways here. I think it can kind of go in different directions. I do think it is just kind of like when I was reading about this, these future matchups, 12 future matchups, that is, between Clemson and Notre Dame. One of the more recent matchups was in 2020, I want to say. Now, they've played since then. This isn't the most recent matchup, but do you remember this 2020 matchup? What was so significant about it?
That was a playoff game, wasn't it?
This was the matchup.
Oh, no, this was the rematch in the ACC championship game.
Well, the one I'm thinking of is DJU's first big introduction. Is one of his first starts in college football. Yeah. Lit the world on fire. Clemson lost in overtime, ultimately to Notre Dame. But it's from that moment everybody's like, Clemson done got him another one. DJU's the truth. He's going to be the next top quarterback in college football. And that was pretty much the highlight of his entire career because the very next year, week 1, he got dismantled by the University of Georgia. And it just continued to go downhill ever since.
How time to change. I mean, I remember him taking Real Mitchell's spot on QB1 at St. John Bosco, and now is he even playing this year?
DJU?
Yeah.
Oh, he was in the draft.
Oh.
Was. So everybody wanted to talk about Shedeur Sanders falling out of the draft board. Nobody wanted to talk about DJU.
Disgusting.
Man.
I can't stand it. Jim Knowles talked about how he might have stayed at Ohio State for one thing. Do you have the article on this ready? Because
yes.
I read it and I was kind of confused by it at first. You had to explain it to me because the quote is kind of shoddy at best. But.
Yeah, so he gave 2 separate quotes kind of talking about why he left Ohio State. This is the defensive coordinator, obviously, that helped lead Ohio State to the national title this season. And then shortly removed after that national title, signed a contract with Penn State to be their defensive coordinator.
Highest paid DC in the game right now,
yeah.
Is he not? Yeah.
So he gave these quotes regarding the situation. I did not want to put anybody, including myself, in a position to have to deal with it immediately following the national championship game, he said. And that's the way it happened. And then in another quote, he said, season's over, everything coming to a head again quickly, Knowles said. Ohio State has to come forward with a deal, and it's like, okay, if I'm going to act on this or at least explore it, I have to go make the call. So in other words, what Jim Knowles was kind of hinting at here is if Ohio State had offered him an extension prior to the season ending, he would still be the defensive coordinator for Ohio State. And that was kind of his big point of like, I would have happily stayed. It was nothing against the program, why I left or anything like that. It was just as simple as someone had to make a move first. I felt like I needed to go make a move and start exploring what my other options are in case this doesn't happen. And a phone call from Penn State later, he's now their defensive coordinator.
It kind of gives a bad idea for Ohio State. Like, man, you let Jim Knowles walk. You sat in your hands too long. But I understand it from both sides. I understand Jim Knowles saying, like, hey, they haven't offered me an extension yet. I don't know if I'm going to have a job come the end of this season. I need to start looking elsewhere. But I also stand from Ohio State's perspective how you didn't know if Jim Knowles was going to be the guy until it was obviously too late. Like, I think we forget as a collective group how much of a failure Ohio State was in the 2024 season leading up to the playoff. That playoff run they went on was incredible, dynamic. They were far and away the best team in the playoff, and it showed. That's why they're national champions this season. But from 2024, the regular season, week 1 to week 12, they were kind of a failure. It was, okay, Ohio State's got all of these transfers, all of these players. They're spending all this money, and yet they're losing to Oregon in ways that you don't usually see them before. Quarterback play might have not been great that game. Bad decisions lead to a 1-point loss. They get boxed by Michigan in the rivalry game at home, one of the most embarrassing losses of the Ohio State program, and from what I can remember, they stumbled throughout the season as well. Like, Nebraska wasn't an easy win for them. So you take that in the collective and put that in the Ryan Days where, okay, yeah, we have this Jim Knowles. The defense hasn't been stellar. Our team's kind of been a failure. I'm not sure I want to re-sign this guy. Now, obviously, you go on that incredible playoff run. Things work out how they do, and you're one of the top teams in the country. You know, people are arguing, was that the greatest college football run of all time? But before that, and it seemed like Jim Knowles had made up his mind at that point. Like, I need to make sure I have employment secured. And it worked out for him. And honestly, it worked out for Ohio State, too. You're national champions.
Yeah, I mean, attention was certainly dispersed elsewhere throughout the entire season, but really what you're talking about of between the end of the regular season going into the college football playoff, typically around this time is when extensions will happen, or it's in March or February, like kind of the dead period of the offseason. And Jim Knowles said he didn't want to wait that long until February or March to get this extension with the program. But I mean, I remember talking about following the Michigan loss to the point where Ohio State is going to still be in the playoff. We just have to find out where they're seated. We're sitting in here having conversations in December of what does Ryan Day have to do to keep his job?
Yeah.
Does he have to win a national? Not to say that Ohio State was ultimately going to fire this guy if he didn't ultimately deliver and win a national title to end the year, but those were conversations that we were having of what does he have to do to save his job, because this is a rather disappointing season, or it looked like it was going to be a disappointing season based on losing to Michigan and Oregon. Not exactly delivering up to this. They might win the Big Ten, or they'll be in the conference championship game. They're going to rematch against Oregon. So there was a lot going on around this program during the month of December. Then once you get past Tennessee in the first round, and then you have a rematch with Oregon in the second round, I mean, there were so many things going on to where if you are Ryan Day or even the athletic director at that point, it's a second thought or a third thought or even a fourth thought of, hey, we need to make sure we re-sign our defensive coordinator right now, because they're kind of looking at everything else saying, like, where does this coaching staff sit right now? Where does this program sit right now? Then you go and win a national title, and of course your attention is going to continue further on down the road to where here's Jim Knowles, and here's where the current thought process is, because we just won a national title for the first time since 2015. We finally did it. So I think it just got caught up in so many different things to where it felt like there wasn't a perfect time or an appropriate time to sit down with Jim Knowles and say, hey, buddy, we know the deal right now. We understand that contract isn't figured out. Let's just go ahead and figure it out. Hey, I know that we got the national title game coming up with Notre Dame. We're going to take care of you, though. I mean, I just think a lot of things got caught up to where I agree with you, kind of both sides. I understand it from both perspectives.
Yeah, I don't think this is a failure in either way, and I think this is just kind of how business works. We kind of looked at it as that when it first happened, like, damn, Penn State signed Jim Knowles for all this money after winning a national title. Like, you couldn't retain that guy. But it makes sense as this point. Again, you were one blowout loss in the playoff away from Ryan Day possibly losing his job. If your head coach loses his job, you likely also will not have a job simply because your employer is getting fired. So I totally understood Jim Knowles' thought process there. I totally understood Ryan Day's thought process there, and the powers that be at Ohio State of saying, hey, we don't need to work on contract negotiations right now. We don't need to do this. It's DEFCON 5, win the national title, or we're going to be looked at as a joke. So no fault on either side, but it was interesting to think about how Jim Knowles did say, like, I wanted to stay at Ohio State. I would have stayed at Ohio State.
It kind of reminds me of the situation that the Atlanta Braves were in where Freddie Freeman was entering free agency. There was negotiations going on. Atlanta Braves extends what many believe to be their final offer, and Freddie is still kind of weighing the options of, do I go to L.A.? Do I stay in Atlanta? What do I want to do? And Atlanta ultimately said, well, we can't wait on you any longer. We have to make a move. We'll go trade for Matt Olson. You solidify your first base spot. That wasn't to say that Atlanta didn't want Freddie Freeman, but Atlanta got put in a position where we have to make a move or else we're going to be screwed and we're not going to have a first baseman, or at least an option at first base that we would like to have. And that's kind of what Jim Knowles was getting at here, is saying, I felt like I had to make a move because while Ohio State probably would obviously love to have me and likely would have extended me in the end of it, I needed to make a move to make sure that I got put in the best situation. I wasn't just kind of left stranded to where if they didn't elect to extend me, then I'm fighting for scraps at that point, and I'm not ending up at Penn State more than likely.
Yeah, it's one of those situations where you don't want to be in it, but you do want to be in it. It's you won the national title, but there are faults that come with it. Speaking of situations that you would or want to be in, you've got a couple of coaches here on this list, and you want to know, like, which situation would you rather be in, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so can you carry this while I'm about to have a coughing fit because I'm holding on by a thread right now?
Yeah, man. I'll introduce this lovely segment. So what I have elected to do with this segment is we're going to take two head coaching names, pit them up against one another, and I'm going to ask you, would you rather be in this head coach's shoes going into this season, or would you rather be in the other guys? So the first one, would you rather be Steve Sarkisian entering this season, or would you rather be James Franklin?
I'm back. Honestly, I would rather be Steve Sarkisian. And as unenviable of a situation Steve Sarkisian's in, because it feels like you are at a very much like, hey, anything but a national championship at this point is going to be a disappointment. Not even just man, we'll get him next year. Like a serious, like, why have we not won a national title yet? Steve Sarkisian's entered that territory. James Franklin, I don't think, on the other hand, has that. But the margins are so much thinner for James Franklin. Like, if James Franklin goes 9-3 this year, the entire why is he our coach? It's the same thing every year. He'll never get over the hump. It all starts over again. I think Sark can afford a 9-3 season, whereas I know it's going to be massive disappointment, and people are going to start looking at him like, is this the guy? But if you go 9-3 as James Franklin, people are going to already say, I know what he is. Mm-hmm. We've seen this before. We've seen this for the last 9 or 10 years. James Franklin will never, ever win a national title. Whereas if you go that with Steve Sarkisian, it's going to be, all right, he's underperforming catastrophically, but there's also still hope for that.
And I think, too, like, Sarkisian has a 2-year safety net with this because we believe that Arch Manning is going to be the starter for 2 years. This is not he's going to start this season in 2025 for Texas, then go to the NFL and completely move on. So I think that alone gives Sark 2 years into this process of we're buying into this. You get Arch Manning for 2 years, and then we'll kind of reevaluate everything. Where James Franklin kind of feels like I'm not saying that James Franklin is ultimately going to be fired at the end of the year if they don't get the job done this year, but you get one more year of Drew Aller, and then he's off to the NFL. Then you're kind of hitting the reset button completely because you're returning a lot of players this year, Drew Aller being one of them. You get both of your running backs back. You're expecting the defense to be what it usually is. Now it's just really a question about the other weapons, like who's replacing Tyler Warren and the wide receivers. Like, that's still a big question. Like, wide receivers continue to be a big question for Penn State. But really it's Drew Aller, in my opinion, of is he finally going to take this leap forward for them? Is he finally going to become this top quarterback prospect that everybody has labeled or tried to label him as for years on end, it seems like. So Sark has a 2-year safety net, whereas James Franklin, it feels like your window's now, dude. Like, we finally got here. We're finally in this national title contending space, and it feels somewhat legitimate, so much so that people are listing us as the number 1 team in top 25 rankings right now. Push comes to shove, like, buddy, we got to go. We got to do it now.
Yeah, and then plus on top of that, like, to the most basic choice, I would rather have to coach Texas's roster right now. Just simply because I think it's more talent. I think there's a better opportunity and avenue there to lead that roster to a national title than there is Penn State. So I would go Steve Sarkisian.
All right. For second option, would you rather be Kalen DeBoer or Hugh Freeze?
Ooh. I'm going to go Kalen DeBoer on this one just because, again, I would rather have that roster right now.
Sure.
And I also think that you have that grace period. For as boisterous as the Alabama Crimson Tide fan base is, and for as much as experts and Paul Feinbaum and everyone in the media has labeled, your first season as a failure, an embarrassment, a catastrophe, it was still your first season. There's still that grace period there, and it seems like you're turning things around. We've all heard about how, he's going lockdown here at 0 dark 30. There's no more Mr. Nice Guy. Like, it is a Kalen DeBoer-led football team now. The I don't want to say stain, but the impression of Nick Saban is no longer there. This is a Kalen DeBoer football team. It's not a Nick Saban team that's being coached by Kalen DeBoer. He has integrated his own culture in that. Hugh Freeze, on the other hand, is just kind of like, hey, it hasn't really looked up at all. You're going on to year 4. It's at a point now where it's just like, when are things going to look like they start clicking? Like Peyton Thorne, you threw him under the bus all last year. You have Jackson Arnold now this year. Like, we don't think the quarterback position has gotten exponentially better. We don't think there's really anything that's gotten exponentially better under Auburn since Hugh Freeze took over. And it was supposed to start that way. It was going to be, Hugh Freeze is going to recruit much better. Hugh Freeze is going to elevate the offense. He schematically gives teams problems. He gave Nick Saban fits when he was out of Ole Miss. He gave a lot of coaches fits. It hasn't really been that yet. They haven't been, a speed bump. They've given teams problems, but I think Hugh Freeze might be in more trouble than Kalen DeBoer right now.
Oh, no. I think the boss man's coming.
Incognito. No. Wow. All that talk and you immediately go back. Dude, he's going to watch the show back.
You think? I don't think
Definitely.
so. I think here's the thing. For both head coaches, they both – hello. Welcome to the show.
Jay will immediately abandon your – he was talking all this shit when he was like, dude, I'm not going to leave. I'm going to stay. And he's going to have to pry me out of the chair.
Oh, there's no coin toss.
There's no coin toss.
Oh, it's my chair?
I was first to move.
Oh.
I mean, I got my space over here. I don't want to have to carry my laptop and my computer. And I like running the camera. So
How are we doing today,
it's a
boys?
win-win.
Doing fantastic.
Doing good. We're just talking about if you'd rather be Hugh Freeze or Kalen DeBoer right now.
Kalen DeBoer.
That's what we all went on with.
I think Hugh Freeze is like a 7-5 away from getting not tossed, but looked at kind of funny.
Yeah.
Like, hey, buddy, what's up with you?
I think what's interesting about both of these names is that both of them have young quarterbacks that they can kind of tie themselves to.
Oh, I like Alabama's room way more than Auburn's, by the way.
Well, that's fair too. Like I'm seeing people start talking about Jackson Arnold as a top 7 quarterback in the conference, and I'm wondering, did we all watch the same Jackson Arnold last year? But I also think that Auburn is going to get introduced to their young quarterback quicker than probably Alabama's does, and also I think that Alabama fans, despite how fiery they have been on social media and they were last year about Kalen DeBoer in the first-year experiment, I think that we've also learned that there's a very short temper in Auburn too, and they have no issues about kicking you out of the door rather quickly before you can even blink.
Yeah, it's going to be one of these things where the reactions of the media in Alabama have kind of made Kalen DeBoer's time at Alabama look worse. I mean, he had a team at number 1 in the nation in his first season as head coach there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, you lost to Vanderbilt. Yes, you lost to a bad Michigan team at the end of the year. Yes, you had an embarrassing closeout to the season. But the reality is I think Alabama will be okay under Kalen DeBoer.
All right. Would you rather be Lincoln Riley or Brent Venables?
Both unenviable situations, but I would rather be Brett Venables here. I at least feel like there's a glimmer of an avenue to where Brett can be a top 15, top 20 head coach and kind of maintain and get Oklahoma back up to some sort of relevancy. I don't see that with USC, not with the quarterback recruiting that Lincoln Riley's doing. I know he's doing a lot of great work on the trail right now. Let's see where those recruits are in December. We saw this last year where it's like, dang, USC's signing Elijah Griffin. USC's got Justice Terry. Didn't land either of those players at the end of the recruiting cycle. So we'll see what happens with Lincoln Riley. I would rather be Brett Venables right now, though, honestly.
Hey, only one of those guys had a GM just randomly get hired over the offseason after going, 75 2 years in a row?
Yeah.
Yeah, only one of those guys had. I know USC has a GM, but he ain't like, separate from the head coach, which is what's going on at Oklahoma. Just a side note.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And speaking that, it seems like Oklahoma is making moves to where they're not exactly tied down to the future of Brent Venables right now. But like you're hitting on the recruiting for USC, and if you didn't know, USC has 29 commits right now in the upcoming class. And now it is a matter of, are they actually going to stick this time? Because USC, especially under Lincoln Riley, has had a tendency to really front load these recruiting classes in the early parts of the summer and in the late parts of the spring. And then it kind of dwindles down as we get closer to the early National Signing Day, and then they're really scrambling at the end of it. But Lincoln Riley is certainly recruiting like he plans to stay there right now and is working his butt off to make sure that it stays that way, where Brent Venables, he got a 1-year rental in John Mateer to basically save his job, get it 1 year further. So it seems like Lincoln Riley, despite what we may think of it and what we may think of his situation with USC, he might feel a little bit more comfortable right now than Brent Venables does.
Also, I would consider this. The Lincoln Riley peak 3 or 4 years ago was so high. Lincoln Riley was listed as, top 5 head coach, linked to the Dallas Cowboys job. Is he going to go to the NFL? Is he going to do this? He's going to do that? No one wants Lincoln Riley now. Now, Brett Venables has never reached that type of, demand, but at least he hasn't plummeted in his stock. It's been fairly consistent. I would rather be Brett Venables, where the potential to rise is there, where if you're Lincoln Riley, you look and say, man, when I was at my highest demand, I think that's passed. So that's why I would also want to be Brett Venables.
All right, my final one. This is a little interesting one. You might look at me a little funny, but Josh Heupel going into this season or Eli Drinkwitz?
Going into this season, Josh Heupel. I think what he did with Nico Iamaleava and the way he handled that situation.
Both 8-4 rosters, by the way. 8-4 situations, both of them, I think. Missouri and Tennessee. I mean, could go 10-2. Could, maybe, in like the best case scenario. But I think both fan bases are like staring down 8-4. And that, like, Missouri feels optimistic at 8-4, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The way Josh Heupel handled the Nico Iamaleava situation bought him so much goodwill with Tennessee fans, with college football fans in general, that even if you go 8-4 this year, which would be by all accounts a very disappointing season for Tennessee, it will be excused because you know what? He did the right thing for college football. He made the right move in telling a kid who was demanding $4 million to walk. Eli Drinkowitz, on the other hand, does not get that grace to where the point of 8-4 is probably going to be less disappointing if you're a Missouri fan. But for this year alone, I would take Josh Heupel. Now, for 5 years down the road, I would probably rather take Eli Drinkowitz. But you kind of have a mulligan year this year with Josh Heupel.
I think Hype's there for like 6-7 more years.
Yeah, but I'm saying like the 5-year outlook, would you rather have for Josh Heupel or be Eli Drinkowitz? This year, I'm taking Josh Heupel, but in the 5-year span, I would rather.
You like Missouri over the next 5 years over Tennessee?
I think Missouri likes Eli Drinkowitz for the next 5 years.
That's what I'm
That's
saying.
what you're saying.
That's what I'm
Okay,
saying.
okay.
Like the situation I would rather be in. Like,
if you're the head coach making $8 million,
yeah,
Hype's making like 10 now.
yeah, but I mean, if you go another 5 years without a national title, Tennessee fans are going to start not being very nice to you.
You go 3 more years at 7-5, and they might fire you at Missouri as well.
Sure.
This is also true.
Barry Odom got tossed for like consistent 8-4s, didn't he?
This is also true.
I think this season is going to be a true testament for Tennessee fans because they are one of the more passionate fan bases that college football has to offer. And while it's super easy and nice and easy to say right now in the month of May that, oh, it doesn't matter what happens this season because our head coach did the right thing. We didn't expunge a bunch of money into a quarterback that we didn't have to. He did the right thing. He's good by us. Well, then you turn around and you do go 7-5 or you do go 8-4 and you kind of have some pretty embarrassing losses on that schedule and things get pretty bad before the season is even close to over. Let's see if you're still saying that now about the program, about, I'm so glad that we did the right. It's okay, guys. It's okay that we're losing games because we did the right thing back in March. It's okay. We don't have to worry about this because our head coach is a good guy and he loves the power T.
Yeah, by the way, this is all operating on the assumption that UCLA is going to have an 8-4, 7-5 season. They're not going to be like a very good team with Nico Iamaleava. So that's kind of my assumption here because if UCLA does have a really good year, yes, that's going to make Tennessee fans very, very bitter. However, I'm not exactly certain that's going to happen.
I see some people in the chat wondering where I was to start the show. Just being lazy, just being a bum. Not just kidding. I was at Hapeville Charter today seeing the Alabama commit Chris Booker and then went down to Sandy Creek to see one of the best 2026 running backs in the state and the country, Amari Latimer. Tennessee, Texas, and LSU in the building, if you will, or on the field out there at Sandy Creek as well. I want to talk about Chris Booker today during the national hour. He is an Alabama commit. Alabama is on the precipice of signing 2 football players at the University of Georgia, in the state of Georgia rather, that the University of Georgia was kind of late on. One of them's Jordan Edmonds, who I was having a discussion with somebody today. He might be the best position player in the state of Georgia. Like outside of Tyler Atkinson, Jordan Edmonds might be that. And he's solidly committed to Alabama. Georgia's still pushing there, as is everybody else in the country. Chris Booker, I saw today from Hapeville Charter. This is a football player, okay? This is a guy who loves football, by the way, and is a real professional. I can't wait to type out the interview that I did with him today. That's a grown man when he speaks. Like, he doesn't speak like a 17-year-old kid. Like, prime example, you're going to see this footage, and the first thing that social media wanted to talk about today is, holy shit, look at that practice field. One of my questions to him was, are you excited to get to college and be in like an SEC facility and to see what that does to your game? Because it's not just the field. I'm sure there's a weight room, that change that every high school kid's going to go through. But a kid at Buford's not going to go through it like the kid at Hapeville Charter is going to go through it. So his body's going to change dramatically, right? That's what I was trying to lead to. This kid's only scratching the surface. And his immediate answer when I asked him about facilities was, facilities don't make a football player. Facilities don't make a football player, all right? And you're going to see this kid stayed at Hapeville Charter for it's going on 4 years, and he is a dude. I think I watched a professional today. I think I watched a pro today, and I'm excited to show you just this 20-second clip. I got about 3.5 minutes. I'm going to be sending out to college coaches, including Alabama, relatively soon. I love this kid. I hope it turns out at its highest rates possible. Let's go take a look at it. All right. So he's about 6'4.5". About 295 pounds. If we were to pull up the tape, which maybe we can after this, I think we've watched it already on this channel. This is an elite mover. This is an extremely good athlete right here. What we're not going to have is the audio. I want to mute this right here because it'll jack everybody up on YouTube, all right? But what I want you to notice first and foremost, all right, they're in an odd stack is this defense. I think, yeah, a zero, an end, and an end over here with 3 linebackers. Do we all see that as an audience? All right, he's going to realize, hey, whoa. He's got eyes on this guy right now. He's going to say, hold on, timeout. Hey, guys, we're hot right now. I got to work out to this guy. All right, so we're going to send protection right now. All right, this is a junior in high school talking these things out right here. He did this the entire practice, okay? And not only that, I want y'all to watch what happens right here. He gets caught up underneath his chin a little bit, okay? This is a bad position to be in for most non-elite superior athletes. This is a great edge rush right here from this linebacker number 11. We get kind of caught right up on our heels and a little shell-shocked right here. Watch how quickly he recovers, ladies and gentlemen. Boom. Gets right back up underneath him. Look how low that base is right here. Look how high everybody else on the planet's playing. Look where my man, 6'5", is playing right here. I love this kid. All right, I love this kid a ton. The high school tape is exceptional. The practice tape, the in-person eval, everything about this kid is great. Great job by Alabama right there to get that locked up early on in his recruitment process. Still a bunch of teams getting after it with regards to trying to maybe potentially flip him. I know he's going to take official visits to Florida State, I believe, maybe Tennessee and Georgia. Okay, That's a ball player. That is a ball player, and that kid loves football.
Are they playing on the side of a highway?
They are playing on the side of not a highway, a state route. Okay, a side of a state route. And by the way, ain't a flat piece of ground on that field. So when you come up out of that field, like without an ankle injury, you are a supreme athlete. I was walking around damn near rolling an ankle. Okay, so yeah, nothing but dudes have come out of that football program. By the way, 9 NFL football players have practiced on that field. 9. Wow. And by the way, they've only been playing high school football since like 2012. They were a brand new startup high school program in 2011 or 12 when I was in high school. Our JV team played their first ever team when I was in 10th grade. So that, I mean, they've only been playing football for like 10, 15 years. Good all right. Lord. And I'm talking about my man Arden Key, that I always call Dane Key, or Dane Key, Arden Key. Arden Key's from there. I believe, I want to say Chris Smith's from Hateville Charter. Will you look that up for me as well? I believe he is. I believe Chris Smith's from Hateville Charter. They produce dudes, okay? And that's the next one I think. I think I watched a pro today.
He is.
I think I watched a pro today.
I'll be honest. When I saw the first clip that you posted of him doing like ladder drills and all that, just some footwork stuff, I thought it was a running back prospect. That's how well he moved. I was like, good Lord, this running back is massive. Yeah, and then I see the next clip, I'm like, oh.
The tape is that
this
too.
This is an offensive lineman.
The tape is that too. He is running all over the field. First question I have for him off camera was, can you snap? Because I would imagine watching Parker Brailsford for 2 years at Alabama is going to make everybody want another Parker Brailsford, which means you got to have a freaking supreme athlete. I think that's what this kid is. I'm bullish on him. I'm really excited for whatever happens to him. I'm gonna be following that one closely.
Is that a my guy or is that too early?
Yeah, I mean that's a my guy in this class for sure. Wherever he goes. But yeah, it sounded to me like he was locked in with Alabama. It to the point where when we got done with the conversation, I was like, "Whew, man, you just gave the pitch." Like that was the. We'll clip that one up 90 seconds, send it to the social media team. They'll have it out on Alabama. The page, because that was a tremendous promo for him. After that, I went and saw Sandy Creek High School, where Amari Latimer, 2026 running back, plays. It sounds to me like, well, first of all, Tennessee was there today. Texas was there today. LSU was there today. Tennessee, 2 coaches, Willie Martinez and Darrell Sims, the running back coach and the DB's coach. Georgia fans will remember Willie Martinez had a stint as a defensive coordinator at Georgia. But anyways, they have a bunch of dudes as well. Amari Latimer, I already mentioned. I don't know where he's going to end up. It sounds like Tennessee, Texas, and some others. I think he's got a top 6 is what we talked about today. But there's another one. There's another one popping right now. Corey Hadley Jr., okay? And it ain't even now. It's since January. Since January, let me read off some offers that this 6'2.5" safety has picked up at Sandy Creek. So just today picked up USC, Texas A&M this week, West Virginia, Georgia back in February, Michigan, Pittsburgh, Nebraska, NC State, Penn State. All right, it's everybody. Okay, everybody. Here's what's even crazier. Kid ain't never gone to a visit to any of these schools. I'm like, where have you visited? And it was all the schools that he ain't going to play for. So it's a big spring and summer this year or this spring and summer for him to get out and go see a bunch of schools. But that's where I was at today, and it was a good time. A lot of good football.
Love hearing about good
Tomorrow
football.
is a long day. Tomorrow and next 2 days are long. Tomorrow is Carrollton at 6:30. So to get to Carrollton by 6:30, I got to leave this joint at like 4:45.
Yeah.
Probably a bad idea to be drinking coffee at 9 o'clock, but hey, what's next?
Well,
I think we worked hard on some rankings
we
today.
did work hard on some rankings, so we're going to go through those now, actually.
Did Jonathan tell you about us trying to get AI to put these edits together?
He did tell me about how he was struggling with that. And
It was rather, I thought it was rather comical.
Yeah, it
I thought it would
was.
have been good stuff if it was actually coherent, but it didn't. Oh, we going me first?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
I mean,
All right, let's do it. This is crazy. I know people are going to be like, what in the hell? Brooks don't believe in those two programs historically on this network. Preseason rankings, I sure as hell do. I think Clemson is, first of all, if Clemson don't run the table in the ACC this year, I'll be surprised. Okay? I think they have the most congruent roster. I think they got the best quarterback in the conference. Okay, I had to go through my ACC list of quarterbacks right quick in my head. I think they got by far the best quarterback in the conference as well, and a lot of returning starters, particularly in the back end of that defense. Love Sammy Brown at linebacker as well, and Jamal Anderson. I hope a big pop year for him as well. Number 2, Penn State. I just think when you do preseason rankings, I'm on paper, right? It's everything on paper. Penn State's got a lot of continuity from last year on paper. A theme here at the top. I'm buying the high end of Texas early on in the season right here. We're going to find out really early on between these two, right? They play week 1, right? Between Texas and Ohio State. And
They
Clemson.
play week 1.
So it's a big football game right there between my way too early post-spring 3 and 4. A lot of questions about what Texas is going to do to rebuild their roster. They went out and spent a lot of money, particularly on the interior of their defensive line, where I thought they lost the most bodies. Okay, so we'll see what happens there. Ohio State, number 4. A lot up in the air about them at the quarterback position, but we love everything else about them, especially what they got coming back defensively. When you return guys like Caleb Downs and guys like Sonny Styles, I'm all for it. Okay, I think you got 2 leaders that are premium blue chip prospects at really, really high caliber positions. Okay, obviously recruited at a blue chip rate. I like what Julian's saying could ultimately be, especially when you have Jeremiah Smith out there. Number 4. Number 5, Georgia, for all the necessary reasons I just laid out with Ohio State. Blue chip ratio is important. How well you've stacked your rosters year after year is vital. Same kind of principle here with Oregon. I was bullish on Dante Moore coming out of high school out of Chicago. Bet y'all didn't know I was a Chicago kid. Loved him coming out of Chicago, went to UCLA. Loved what happened early on, a couple games. I think he got shell-shocked by turnovers. I think Dan has, spent a year, and it was a great decision by Dante, in my opinion, taking the year off, basically, of football and going and learning what it means to practice and what it means to be able to catch up with the speed of play. Getting dumped off from high school into Pac-12 football, not ideal for a young football player. Like I said, I think there was some scar tissue there from year 1 for him. I'm excited to see what it's going to look like as a year 2 and really first year starting in a normal situation. Number 7, Notre Dame. I'm buying the Marcus Freeman hype there. I'm all about Marcus Freeman. Having been there in person at the Orange Bowl, or rather the Sugar Bowl, and hearing him and being in person, you get the vibe. All right, you get the aura. You understand why that football team played at a much higher rate than their roster's talent evaluation might say. They didn't have a first-round draft pick, did they? Notre Dame.
Don't think so, no.
They didn't. Was Xavier Watts their first player off the board by the Falcons, late second round?
Might have been.
Yes.
Okay. They played in the national championship game, guys. South Carolina had like 6 defensive players drafted. All right, it's totally different. They played way over their roster value. I'm buying Ty Simpson. I'm buying a real, true Kalen DeBoer offense. I'm excited to see what it looks like this year out there in Tuscaloosa because I know how dependent they felt upon quarterback run last year, which if I'm spending 17, 18 plays designing a quarterback run, that's giving me 6, 7 plays out of Kalen DeBoer's passing concepts. The rest being runs. They're not all going to be passes, all right? They're not going to throw it 60 times this year. But what I'm saying is I'm excited to see what it looks like. It's very similar to what it felt like at Washington, in my opinion. LSU at number 9, and this is where it gets hairy. After 10, it's a damn crapshoot. I think you guys are going to feel the same way. Number 9, I got LSU. I'm buying Nuss. I'm buying the additions. Love my man Nick Anderson coming over from Oklahoma. Love that they at least took stabs at trying to fill holes in areas of their roster that were really abhorrent, right? Last year, they were not good enough interiorly on the defensive line. They were not good enough interiorly on the offensive line. We'll see how they rebuild and replace those offensive tackles this year. Number 10, South Carolina. It's a pure Lenora Sellers for me. It's a pure Lenora Sellers buy for me right there at number 10. And then here comes the crapshoot, right? I put BYU at number 11 because I just trust them to be the best version of whatever comes out of the Big 12. Right now on paper, and also know, a little tidbit, Mormon school. Some bitches is 24 already. Like, you thought COVID seniors were a real thing. BYU and Utah have been doing COVID seniors since 1965. Okay, so they are an old football team year in, year out. Love the returning quarterback. I know they just lost their best wide receiver. That's okay. Another DJ Lagway, another quarterback buy right here with Florida. Liked how they ended the year last year. Got to eliminate some of the damn coach. I didn't see him turnovers from a young quarterback. We'll see how that offense progresses. Number 13, Ole Miss. Felt like it was a quiet offseason on the buy circuit for Lane Kiffin, right? Even into the December window. I didn't feel like they loaded up. I didn't feel like they loaded up at all this spring either outside of quarterback. They took another one from Oklahoma State just a couple days ago. All right, so they took 2 transfer quarterbacks this offseason when last year they took 2 NFL football players on the defensive line. Total different offseason for Ole Miss this year. They're in at 13. 14 is a Kevin Jennings and oil money play for me.
It's an understandable play, honestly.
They've been buying it. All right, you see, SMU been doing the Texas Tech play without the pub. They're like, hey, don't talk about us throwing the oil money around. Just don't tell anybody. Don't tell anybody we gave Jonathan Jefferson $800,000. Don't tell nobody that. Don't tell nobody none of that. All right, but nonetheless, I got them at 14 because they've been spending it. And you'll see down here, like, Michigan's on here because I know they spend money. Did they spend it right? I don't know, but I know they spent money. I know SMU spends money. I know Arizona State just went out and bought some dudes as well. How about Nyland Green, an Arizona State Sun Devil out here, right? They went out and made major additions as well. Love their tandem at wide receiver and quarterback between Sam Levitt and the big 6'3"X. Down here at 16, a team I damn near forgot. I think Jonathan was in here in the studio with me. I said, shit, I forgot Illinois. Illinois at 16, shout out to Brett Bielema and the 12 personnel. 17, John Mateer from the ear. This is a high value projection right here. I think by mid-year, you might look up Oklahoma's like 8. Oklahoma's like 9. I don't know what the early slate looks like for Oklahoma, but I like John Mateer. I like my man, I forget his name, that came over from Washington State, the OC. Okay?
Arbuckle.
18, huh?
Arbuckle.
My man Arbuckle, my man Jay Will. Number 18, Tennessee. Again, roster value play here. I think they spend money. I like Joey Aguilar. I don't love Joey Aguilar. Give me that right there. That's a team that's either make or break. This is going to sound crazy. They're make or break off Mike Matthews. Do you feel that way?
Yeah.
Like, if Mike Matthews is the motherfucking guy like we thought he was in high school coming out, they might be all right. But if they ain't got no weapons, they ain't got no weapons. On to number 19, Southern Cal. I like Jaden Maeva. I don't love Jaden Maeva. I do love that they're at least trying to get a bunch of big bodies on the defensive line. Don't know why you're smirking. A bunch of big bodies on the defensive line. Jakeem Stewart from high school. I don't know if he's going to be ready to play this year. He's a reclassed kid, 17 years old as a true freshman. But, you know, they brought over John Jarrett from Georgia and another big body as well, I think, from North Carolina, somewhere over here in the Southeast, another big dude. Number 20, Miami. We're going to see. That's a tough slate early on for this football team, okay? A really, really tough slate for Miami early on. 21, Michigan, talked about them. 22, Texas Tech. Here's why I put the Red Raiders in my top 25, because I want to see your ass fail. I want to see your ass fail. At the end of the year, I'm going to be like, you was a top 25 football team, 75. I hope that happens.
That's a true hater to pump them up yourself
You
just so
damn
you
right.
can hate on them even more.
That's the ultimate hate.
Top 22, cut the legs. Cut the legs. All right, number 23, Jackson Arnold and them boys. I think we got a chance, like you. I think Deuce Knight, like week 7, week 8. And I think you might see a 4-game, like, whoo, damn. What happened at Auburn? They look pretty damn good. Nebraska, number 24. Yes, you know, Matt Rule. Matt Rule. Matt Rule. Number 25, I'm going to keep pounding it. Give me them UConn Huskies as the non-Power 5 college football playoff team.
That's what I was.
This is a classic sports media guy thing right here, right? I'm going to teach you. I'm going to put you on some game here, folks. I need to put this down. I'm going to put you on some game here, folks. If you ever get into this business, just hound a take like this, and then when it hits, you're a genius. If it misses, don't say a word.
No one remembers.
That's why I was smirking, by the way, because people in chat were like, "Is that UConn I see?"
Hell
up there
yeah,
on
that's
the top
UConn.
25?
Hey, don't act like I'm just out here being wild. Jim Moore and them boys, 9-3 last year. 9-3 last year gave some Power 4 teams a little bit of a sweat. Okay, watch out.
All right, well, look, I am up next for my top 25 rankings reveal. Starting it off, I have Ohio State listed at number 1 overall. Reigning national champs. I like what they return on defense despite the losses that they have. Not going to be as veteran of a team as they were last year, but I love Caleb Downs. I love Jeremiah Smith. I think they still have plenty to work with, and I think that they are rightfully so the number 1 team heading into this year. I'm with you on the Clemson hype right now, purely because of the conference. You can say, oh my gosh, all you want, but I'm calling an audible right now.
Keep giving your takes, man.
I do like Clemson just because of what the conference is, and I think that Clemson is head and toes above water everybody else in the conference.
Get up there and mess the whole production up because he's going to change all the cameras.
All right. All right, I'll just keep talking while you fix that, Curtis. Yeah, I'm high on Clemson. I like Cade Klubnik. I know that people have questions about what do they return on offense. I feel like they don't have dudes. I think Clemson does have some dudes on offense. I think they return some good wide receivers. They always have a really solid defense. I like Clemson coming out of the ACC. I have Texas as my number 3 team because I think Arch Manning, I think that he is going to be a great quarterback. I think that is also going to be a 2-year process, though, for them. So I like year 1 of Arch starting full-time. They return some really good pieces still on defense despite the losses, so I like the Longhorns. Georgia, number 4. I think they fixed a lot of the issues that they had last year. I don't expect them to lead the nation in drops again this year. I think that they're going to have some stability at quarterback. I think the running back room got beefed up a little bit as well. They solved some issues at wide receiver. Offensive line, I think you're going to see some more consistency barring any issues in the injury department. And I think that they're just good, as always, holistically on defense. Going into number 5, Oregon. I think it is Oregon and Ohio State as the top 2 teams still in the Big Ten. You'll notice that as I had Penn State at number 7, not really buying that one yet. Interested to see what Dante Moore looks like, but Oregon and Dan Lanning and Will Stein have a good track record so far when it comes to their quarterbacks. So I'm high on the offense. I think that they're going to be really successful this year in their conference. LSU number 6. I like Garrett Nussmeier as long as we can fix some of those turnover issues, but they added some weapons in the wide receiver department. They also have Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins in that linebacker room.
Oh, Whit Weeks, shout. Hell
Maybe
yeah.
those two. I think Whit Weeks is a really solid football player,
Whit Weeks is a great football player,
I
man.
love me some Whit Weeks. So if those two can really turn into this dynamic duo that people have been hoping Harold Perkins would return to from his freshman season, I think that defense can have some stability, which has been lacking for them. They've given up some gashers consistently over the years. Penn State number 7. I'm not buying it, man. I'm just a little iffy on it. I think they are a top 10 team. I think they are talented. I think the defense is going to be what it usually is for Penn State. But Drew Aller can be everything that people aspire him to be. The wide receiver room, though, as I mentioned previously on the show, what's going to happen there? It's like, are there going to be any playmakers? You can only hand the ball off so many times, and your best weapon last year in Tyler Warren no longer on the roster. Notre Dame number 8. Jeremiah Love, big fan here. So I'm officially a part of the Jeremiah Love fan club. That's about it for Notre Dame for me right now. I think that you have to replace a lot on that roster. Riley Leonard being the biggest one. That guy basically carried that offense to a national title appearance. He was a big leadership guy for them as well, kind of a glue guy for them despite only being there 1 year.
They say CJ Carr's a dude now.
I've heard some good things about CJ Carr.
Word on street.
But that's just exactly what it is, the word on the street.
Yep.
I ain't in the streets right now, okay? Number 9, Alabama. I like the idea of Kalen DeBoer getting Ty Simpson as a starting quarterback. I keep hearing people say, hey, it's going to be Keelan Russell in 5 weeks. No, it's not going to be. You better hope it's not, because if it is Keelan Russell, then you're talking about, another down year for Alabama. Probably not in the playoff if he's your starting quarterback. And then also, I mean, you have Ryan Williams. He's a great weapon as well. They had some returning starters on defense as well, kept them out of the portal. So I think that Kalen DeBoer did a good job of keeping some key pieces there on that defense.
Oh, you hit the board.
Huh?
You're showing my list now.
Oh. I was about to say I did not have Ole Miss that high. Yeah. That's where they belong. Number 10, South Carolina. Lenore Sellers.
I hate to stop you. This segment only gets better if you continue to somehow get faster and faster and faster. Step your foot in it. See how fast you can go.
Oh, gosh. All right. We got to ramp it back up, all right? Lenore Sellers, one of the top quarterback prospects. Nobody would be shocked if Lenore Sellers was a top quarterback in next year's draft class. I think Nick Harbor could finally have that breakthrough season. I am a little hesitant now, a little bit, hearing that they're still waiting on a waiver for Rasul Faison. This is a guy that went to a college, and then he went to an online school, didn't play football, and then he went to Snow College for 2 years, and then he went to Utah State for 2 years, so they're trying to figure out the eligibility there. They're going to have a guy at running back. I think they only have 3 scholarship guys right now without Faison, and that's something Shane Beamer has provided some
Hey,
hesitancy.
good job by Shane Bieber getting in front of a bunch of microphones and shitting on the NCAA for it. Go.
Absolutely. Speak up and make them do something.
Note
for
to the
you.
issue. That's right.
I like Jalen Kilgore. I don't think he's a Nick Emanwari by any means, but this is another guy that was highly productive as a safety. As soon as he stepped foot on campus with a guy like Nick Emanwari in the room, it's really just about the defensive line and the edge department. You have Dylan Stewart. What does the interior look like? They took a bunch of stabs in the transfer portal, though. You better hope some of those hit. They also got Xavion Hardy, number 1 JUCO prospect. He can play some edge. He can play some interior defensive lineman as well, based on what I've heard. So high prospects there. You just got to hope that they hit for you.
About 6'5", 270. Grown man.
Yeah.
Grown man. South Georgia football. Grown
Absolutely.
man.
Arizona State is my Big 12 team. I like Sam Leavitt a lot. And when you have consistent quarterback play in a conference that has so many questions, I'm going to take the quarterback play. And I think that he's a really solid quarterback. They have a bunch of grown dudes as well on that roster, as the Mormons do. But I like Arizona State's roster just a little bit more.
How about a new segment? Leave it, like it, love it. No, leave it, leave it, love it. Leave it, leave it, love it.
It's a little too hard to say, my opinion.
All right? Next segment.
Illinois. I think this is a bit of a sleeper team in the Big Ten, kind of like what Indiana did last year. I like Illinois. They're just going to muck it up, man. That's what they do best. Luke Altmaier is not one of these gunslingers going to throw it 30 times, but it's a slow death for you if you play Illinois. So I think they can just kind of creep their way through the Big Ten schedule this year, and next thing you know, boom, top 12 team by the end of the year, might be in the college football playoff before you know it. Kansas State, going into quarterback play as well. Avery Johnson is a returning starter for them. I like what he showed last year. This was a guy that they moved to instead of Will Howard. That's what led him to go into Ohio State. They like some Avery Johnson. He's got the curly fro and everything.
I would like to admit to the class I completely left Kansas State off my top 25. Would like to admit to the class.
Brooks can't cheat on the test, and that's what happens. Oh,
What?
Damn it. I keep messing this up.
I never once cheated on a test.
Never?
You
weren't
don't have to
trying,
lie, dude.
I mean, we are on the record right now.
Number 14, I have the Oklahoma Sooners. I was on the John Mateer hype train before everybody else, despite the fact that I have been a little hesitant about this going into the SEC. Completion percentage was a little down, even at Washington State, so I'm interested to see what that happens there. Weapons might get a little bit better, though. They did help themselves out in that department. They were a team that was struck by the injury bug as well at wide receiver last year, so it was kind of hard to evaluate what the weaponry truly was for them. The defense is going to be solid because it is Brent Venables. I think he's figured out that side of the ball. Now they're hoping John Mateer can do it. I think he can make things crazy enough to where they can have some type of success offensively.
Kept David Stone out of the portal as well.
Oh, yeah. That's a good shot right there as well. Number 15. These are where the BYU Cougars come in for me. Old football team, veteran football team. They're just consistently good, especially now that the Big 12 has really opened up. I think that they're just a bona fide, hey, slide them in at 15. That's where BYU is going to be. That's where they belong. Then when you start getting in the top 10, they're inevitably going to fall out of it. So I think they're just safe. They're a safe pick at number 15. Tennessee, despite the losses, despite some of the lack of moves that they've been able to make in the transfer portal to adding the wide receiver department, I like what they still have in their running back room. They have Deshaun Bishop and Peyton Lewis. I think that they can lean on those. Heupel has shown his ability to create for that offense and create openings in the run game, despite what the rest of the offense looks like. Really, it's about the defense. Can we get Jermod McCoy back? What does that timeline look like? That's a massive player, a player that many are saying could be a first-round pick next year. But I still think Tennessee is solid. And same for Texas A&M. I like Marcel Reed. I think I've said this so many times about the Aggies, but I think if they have some stability at the quarterback position and they finally have their guy and they can continue to roll with him, they might pick up some momentum and find a little bit more consistency to where they don't have these random spurts of, whoa, Texas A&M got blown out this week. They're out of the picture now. 18, Miami. This is more of a reflection, again, of what the ACC is, more so than when I think about Miami. But I believe they signed 11 transfer portal players in the last 7 days. Mario Cristobal and the boys finally woke up, and they're trying to put a roster around their $4 million quarterback in Carson Beck. But that's also something that's a question of.
I mean, it kind of makes sense to not really put your roster together until your quarterback can actually throw the football.
Yeah, that's fair, absolutely. And maybe that's what brought Nye Carr back. Hey, buddy.
Oh.
You haven't even gotten to see. Are we good?
I hope we're still live. I just hit the. Oh. No, I just fucked something up.
Did it end?
I mean, it says we're still. Nah, it's frozen.
I don't know what I did. Everything's off. Or maybe this confidence monitor is off. Your shit's still on.
Stream's froze though, so.
Let's see.
I don't know what I did, Jonathan.
Okay. Let's figure it out.
Fuck.
All right. This is turned back on.
It's acting like I pulled the cable out.
That's still on, so
So why would the...
I don't know. That would be my question. Like, here, let's see.
Said the sound is good.
Are we still on over there, or is it frozen?
It's
Okay.
frozen.
Let's see.
But the audio is still going.
The audio's still going?
I think so.
That's what chat's saying, so we'll see.
Sound is good here. Oh, that's what got pulled. What's running? What cable is that?
I do not know.
So.
Dude, this is sick.
Oh, camera feed's back right now.
All right, just keep running show.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna have to minimize this. Oh,
Leave it right there.
okay. All right. So we were talking about the Miami Hurricanes again. They kept Nykar the portal. I think that was the biggest thing possible for them, was to keep Nykar on your roster, because the wide receiver room was questionable at best anyways. So now you have Nykar, a guy that you recruited, a guy that you kind of stole from Georgia as well. So kind of a makeshift offense. Maybe your $4 million quarterback can make things happen there. Florida, I know everybody loves DJ Lagway. I think DJ Lagway has one of the highest ceilings in college football right now. It is still a very small sample size from what we have seen from them. I think the weapon department is great for Florida. I think the offense is going to be fine. But the defense is very questionable to me. Based on what I saw during the spring game, they might be giving it up, man. And while DJ Lagway might be able to score 40 points on a regular basis.
Hey, yo.
Hey, I'm just saying, man. They were giving it up. They might be giving. The defense completely just threw me off there. But yeah, I still have my questions about Florida. I think they very well could be in that top 15 range by the end of the year. But again, small sample size on DJ Lagway. We don't have all the answers there, so I'm still kind of holding out. Indiana, I like the fact that they got Fernando Mendoza. They got another quarterback with experience, a guy that is verified. So that kind of keeps them in the top 25 range for me. Ole Miss, your bottom half of this top 25 for a reason for me. There's too many questions now, especially after you're recruiting multiple quarterbacks in the transfer portal. The defense, we might be returning to the typical Lane Kiffin defense that we are known for, that we have been used to at Ole Miss so far. So I'm not very high on them. Nebraska is a team that I'm very interested about this year. I like Dylan Raiola going into year 2. I like the fact that they added the wide receiver room. I think the defense is going to be solid. I think they're a sleeper team in this conference. Memphis, this is just my G5 pick. I think that they might be the best team out of the G5. Nothing else for you there, really. 24, that's a Sawyer Robertson ranking right there. Returning quarterback in a conference that has a lot of questions. And 25, I like Miller Moss going to Louisville, and I kind of like Louisville just being this team that is just consistently good in the ACC, and they typically stay in this top 25 range. So I like them being at 25.
It's a very interesting top 5, Joe. Good job, dude.
Thank you.
Solid work, brother.
Trade mics, trade seats, bump it down a seat,
I gotta go up to the
bump
board
it down
now.
a seat. Let's just because when I'm here by myself, everyone realizes how short I am compared to Jay Will. I'm going to leave the camera in the normal spot just for a brief second, okay? But I'll square you up just a second. You're not that bad. Not that bad. Right. When he stands up next to me during film studies, I look like a midget.
I need
What do you need?
I need my list. Is it swipe right, J. Will?
Yeah, you're right.
There you go.
There we go.
There you go.
Look at you.
All right. Number 1, I went with Ohio State, national champion, reigning national champion. Still have a lot of talent left on that roster, despite a lot of talent leaving. We talked about Quinshon Judkins left, Will Howard left, a lot of guys on that defense left. I'm still buying Ohio State, and I'm also giving them the tax of you won the national title last year, you deserve to be ranked at number 1. Texas, I believe, also has one of these really talented rosters. They proved they could make a deep run in the playoffs last year. I'm buying that as well, despite the fact that some people believe that Georgia should be a little bit higher than Texas, given what happened last year. Number 3, I'm buying Oregon, a team that went 12-0 last year, returns a lot of stars. Yes, they lost their quarterback. I'm buying Dante Moore. I feel like he's a really solid quarterback piece. 12-0 last season, won the Big Ten in their first year there. Played their worst game ever against Ohio State. I don't think that, should dismantle what they did last year. I'm buying them at number 3 right now.
Tuck your chain in.
Oh, is it the chain?
Hitting the mic.
Yeah.
Tuck the chain. People think it's a pig, by the way.
They get me on that all the
It's
time.
not a pig, it's Kirby, actually.
Is that your name?
That's my last name, actually.
Oh, no way.
Yo, shit. That's
Yeah, dude.
crazy.
Crazy. Number 4, Penn State. I don't love this pick, honestly, but the fact is that the talent they have returning, the fact they were able to make a deep playoff run last year, James Franklin showed that he turned some corner there. Otherwise, they wouldn't have made the run they did. So I got to put Penn State in.
You know what? I want to challenge the national media to just go ahead and fuck around and do it. Just make them preseason number 1 and just watch James Franklin have the hype all season and the pressure.
Yeah, you don't have to do that.
Nah, you kind of have to. Just
Number
go
5,
ahead.
the Georgia Bulldogs, a team that lost a lot of talent but always will have talent. It's Kirby Smart recruiting teams. I think Gunnar Stockton's going to be a very solid option for them also. I don't think they're going to make the mistakes they made last year. So I have Georgia at number 5. And again, these top 5 spots, very interchangeable. You can have week 1 moving anyway. Notre Dame I have at number 6. I think they lost a lot of talent. They outperformed their talent last year. I question whether or not they can do that again. Let's not forget, this is a team that lost to a non-group of 5 or Power 4 team last year. So I'm still a little shy on the Marcus Freeman hype. I know you love him. I know we saw him in person. Really great coach. Really believe that he probably is the answer for Notre Dame. I'm not convinced that they're going to be at number 6 or a top 5
Every time Marcus Freeman's name is mentioned on the show, first time mentioned, do have to remind everyone he looks like he smells amazing. Continue.
All right. I'm skipping this one because we'll get back to that. LSU, this is a Garrett Nussmeier buy. I think that it might be a little inflated right now, but I like what the talent that LSU has. They made a lot of moves in the portal to get some good wide receivers, and they have one of the more experienced quarterbacks in the SEC. Quarterback play is extremely valuable. We're buying that. I'm buying Kalen DeBoer at number 9 simply because I think that this is going to be the first year where he's able to implement an offense. We talked about it a little earlier in the show. Kalen DeBoer is going to have his own culture in there. It's no longer Nick Saban team being coached by Kalen DeBoer. This is a Kalen DeBoer team that is being coached by Kalen DeBoer. Ole Miss I have at number 10 simply because I'm buying what this coach can do more than what that coach can do. Lane Kiffin, despite the fact that he is, routinely disappointed about his teams, I believe in him more than I believe in Shane Beamer. I like Lenore Sellers. I'm a little skittish on the fact that he's going to be a round 1 pick. Arizona State, one of the highest returning production lists in last year, won the Big 12. I think they're going to be really good at competing that year. I don't think they're a top 10 team, though, just because they're competing in the Big 12. SMU, for the same reason you said, they spend money. And it proved to work out for them last year. First year in a Power 4 conference, made it to the conference championship, where a missed field goal away from that game going to overtime, and who knows what happens. So also a playoff team. I'm kind of buying Kevin Jennings type there. Florida at 14, I think, is kind of the appropriate range for them. I don't really know what to make of this roster. We think DJ Lagway's the truth. We think that they've made a lot of right moves. We think Billy Napier might be on the upward trend. That schedule is a bitch, and the defense might be, like you said, Jay Will, giving it up. Illinois,
They do love their wide receiver core
Yes.
at Florida. It should be noted. We wouldn't be ball knowers if we didn't talk about it.
Yeah.
They got some dudes.
Florida
Absolutely.
might be one of these teams that's like, hey, we're going to score 40 points a game, and the opponents are going to score 39. And that's just going to be what it is for the entire season. Illinois, another one of these teams that can muck it up. I like what Luke Altmaier brings to the table, some reliable quarterback play. Kansas State, I think Avery Johnson could be a very, very, very viable weapon in the Big 12 this year. I like what they do. Louisville, always in the mix there. Like you said, Miller Moss coming back. I don't hate Miller Moss. I didn't think he should have been benched that soon at USC. I think that was more of a Lincoln Riley, I got to save my job here.
I think he's due for a big year.
Ah, yes.
A real big year.
I actually can't hear what you're saying right
If he
now, but I
just-
do know you're doing the quarterback.
If he
thing
just
for this.
because if he just listens, man, if he just listens to the coaching, I mean, there's just not a quarterback that's ever played for Jeff Brom that doesn't do great. It's like almost like he's the quarterback whisperer.
The old whisper. Texas A&M, I like Marcel Reed. I think that, I'm blanking on his name, Mike Elko could probably have a better season. Year 2, you have to imagine that the culture is going to be a little more fixed in there. Recruits, things like that. Miami. I like what they've done in the portal in the spring. I think Carson Beck is going to be a solid quarterback for them. I know we've talked about how he hasn't thrown all summer, how he hasn't been doing this, how he had a really bad 2024 season. I think Carson Beck is a solid quarterback. I don't think he's enough to elevate them to a top 15 team. I don't think Miami's a playoff team this year. I do think they're consistently a top 25 team. For all these reasons as well, Tennessee lost that quarterback that kind of made them the top 10 team, would have said, hey, I'm buying Tennessee this year. They also did not make a lot of spring portal additions. The weapons offensively, what makes Josh Heupel offense is kind of the air it out and also run really well. Those don't seem to be here this year. I'm not buying Tennessee as much. I have them at 20. Memphis, Jay Will, I'm with you on that. This is the group
Let's
of 5
go.
pick. This will be, who I'm saying will represent. Here's the charity. Got to put them in the top 25 because there's going to be one of these teams that make the playoff.
Dang. Ranked them 21 and then called them charity. That's crazy. That's crazy.
21 through 25 is so interchangeable at this point. We're just picking straws. Indiana made the playoff last year. Kurt Cignetti going to be very boisterous. I like that. Nebraska, again, it's the Matt Rule, year 3. We've talked about this is where it starts. Dylan Raiola is going into his sophomore season. I think that's probably going to be a little better. Michigan at 24, I think Sherrod Moore and the talent on that roster is simply going to be what keeps them in the top 25. And again, Oklahoma as well. I think that they've made enough moves. I don't know, but it's, again, SEC brand, I kind of like the top 25. Now, before I go back to my desk, this is where Clemson belongs. I don't know what you guys are smoking.
Was that a shot at us?
That Clemson is a top 3 football team. I get it that Cade Klubnik is returning. I get that they lead the nation in returning production at 81%. Yeah. Just because the returning production is there does not mean that they are a top talented team. Yes, the returning production is at 81%. You know it's really a lot better than having returning production? Having returning talent and experience.
Jay, well, I don't know about, not to cut you off. I don't know about you. The Clemson at 1 or 2 for me was all about the ACC.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do, it had little to do with how good their roster. I think their roster is a top 12 roster.
Okay.
I think their schedule and the way that they maintain just an absolute stranglehold on the conference. That's why I had them 1. I do think Clemson's going to be like a 6 to 7 point favorite in every football game they have this year. That's why they're 1.
I don't have a problem with that. I do have a problem with nationally ranked. And yes, number 1 team in the ACC, yeah. I'll ride with that all day long. That doesn't mean they're a top 5 team. Like I hold these spots for these are the cream of the crop. These are the elite, talented competitors. I don't buy Clemson at that.
Right here in May, I think there is a way that, or I see a path where Clemson is a top 4 seed, gets a bye in the first round of the playoff, and then gets mollywopped by one of these teams that comes out of a battle-hardened conference.
And that's what you get when you have 4 Power 4 conferences and one's going to get a bye. I mean, we talked about last year, Arizona State didn't deserve a bye. Boise State didn't deserve a bye. But it's one of those things where, yes, I get that there's going to be, the top 4 seeds. That doesn't mean they should be ranked inside of the top 25. So that's where I stand on that. 81% of returning roster. Okay, so that's basically the same roster that last year got boxed by Georgia, boxed by South Carolina, boxed by Louisville. By the way, none of those games were on the road. Couldn't score 30 points against Florida State. Was down 21 points in a playoff game. Things like that made me say that's not a top 3 team. So.
Oh, sorry. You got to keep going.
Yeah.
No, keep going.
That's basically what I'm saying. I'm not buying Clemson in the top 5 whatsoever. Right. I don't care how much they're going to run through the ACC.
A couple questions before you leave the board. Do you put fruit in your water?
No, why?
Just a random question. Another question. Would you be opposed if I single-framed your mustache during takes and created a segment out of stash takes?
If you could do that, if you have the technology and the wherewithal to do that, dude.
Do we have the technology?
Do we have the technology?
That's something I have to do.
Have you seen this place?
This is a very nice studio. Very nice.
Great job, Kirby. Clap it up for the boy.
Thank you. There's that.
Let's mute this puppy. All right.
Oh, damn, it's 9:10. Damn, my seat's warm as hell.
My bad. This seat's cold. Hey, we got a whole nother hour coming up right now.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You like that? You really like that? Let's shut up and grab some tape.
Kirby looks far more like the guy who does CrossFit more so than he works out at the Y or a church gym.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't even know churches had gyms.
But it was CrossFit in the church gym.
You a big fan of power cleans?
I do love power cleans, but I don't love CrossFit.
Nailed him. No kettlebell exercises for kettlebell exercises for you.
I don't do kettlebells now.
Yeah. You're probably not even a big fan of the cables, are you?
No, I like cables.
Well, TRX machine.
Yeah, but
hell yeah.
No,
What we got for the local hour? What's going on in this hour?
Oh, we got so many topics to talk about.
So many.
One that you and I have kind of briefly talked about earlier today. If you did catch our sub episode on Jackson Canwell, you better go watch that right now after this live show. We're going to speak more on that, how Georgia's continuing to pick up steam, not only there, but on the recruiting trail in general. We got a little Graham Houston nug. We got a little comp there that Brooks picked up today. We're also going to talk about why Jared Curtis will be different from these previous 5 stars that Georgia has signed, dating back to Matthew Stafford. I think that if you kind of look at the lineage here with Georgia signing top quarterback prospects, there might be reason for you to say, whoa, like, why is there any reason to get hyped up about this one based on what the other ones happened? We're here to tell you why this one will be different, why this one is going to work out in Georgia's favor. Jared Curtis obviously is one of these top recruits that you get really excited about. So Kirby and I thought it'd be fun to go back and list our top 5 commits we were most excited about over the years. Chris Peel found a new home. Brock Bowers doing the most Brock Bowers thing ever. The wheel is loaded with topics. We got more notes from the trail and then also nostalgia tape. And we got a juicy nostalgia tape for you guys today.
We already dumped the notes from the trail for the most part in the national hour.
That is right.
Local hour. Here's the news dump on that. Georgia's about to push the pass on, or the pedal on trying to flip Chris Booker.
Oh,
that quick, huh?
pedal to the metal.
Or was this something that you got game like that?
I mean,
Damn, dude. Chow was
I
flaming.
had motion since birth, twin.
It's birth.
Since birth, twin.
All right. Well, look, since we got that out of the way, then let's go ahead and continue to talk about Jackson Cantwell. Obviously, this is a recruit that as soon as first off, let's start by this. This is a recruit that before Jared Curtis even committed, announced that he was going to take an unofficial visit a few days before his commitment date, which is set for May 13th. So there is a potential.
You don't have to do that, dude.
So there is.
I got us.
There is potential for Georgia to sign 2 5-stars within a week span. This one is certainly picking up even more steam, though, Kirby, as of Jared Curtis's commitment. Curtis says that he's going to push and try and get Cantwell into the class, and then he also says that he's going to be in Athens with Cantwell to help him recruit to recruit him to the program. So Georgia really starting to pick things up, as we kind of mentioned Georgia likes to do when the peak season of off-season hits.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we kind of talked about on Monday, how this is why the Jared Curtis recruitment is so big. You kind of felt like, for a lesser better term, your 2026 class was kind of constipated in the fact that everything hinged around what is Jared Curtis going to do. Now that Jared Curtis is locked into University of Georgia, he can go out, he can recruit Jackson Cantwell. He can recruit Mark Bowman. He can go out and say, hey, I'm coming to this class. You should join me. Where beforehand it was just Georgia's got to reach out and it's kind of like, all right, well, we don't even know where our quarterback is for this class.
Whoa. You're like a magician.
I know, right? Isn't that crazy?
That was
you
weird.
Speak through the walls. You go out one door, come through the other.
Hey, just so you know, I'm always watching. I'm always lingering. I'm able to come in, front door back.
I'm not acknowledging that
I think
one.
the most significant thing, though, about this is obviously you hear Jared Curtis is going to be on campus with Cantwell during his unofficial visit. It's like, oh, this is perfect. The 5-star quarterback is going to be recruiting the 5-star offensive lineman, 2 guys that will be working together if they commit to the same program. However, I think what's more significant about this is the fact that Jared Curtis took a bit of a pay cut to come to Georgia. Not a large pay cut by any means, but certainly got a large amount of money to come to Georgia. But again,
all that and you missed.
Took somewhat of a pay cut to come to Georgia. The Jackson Cantwell recruitment has gotten very expensive with the likes of Miami getting involved. Oregon's also tied in on this one. Why not have the 5-star quarterback pitch the 5-star offensive lineman? Hey, I chose this school for less money. Why shouldn't you do the same thing?
Sliding scale Majiggy today. Jackson Cantwell a dog.
I haven't heard the sliding scale Majiggy in like 10 months, dude. It's back.
I mean, Ian Nacho got a random appearance from Will Stein just like that. Now, I'm sure that was scheduled. I'm sure. But no coinky dink there. We talked about it in the sub episode, all jokes aside. I do think Georgia's the leader right now. But all jokes aside, we talked about it this morning in the sub episode that we published. By the way, based off numbers, you guys seem to like those. So I think we're moving more and more towards a generation that don't read. So maybe we just go through all of our news with the videos, maybe. Seem to do better numbers on the video side. We talked about it this morning. If the 5-star quarterback decides, hey, I'm going to take a pay cut, then that's a good catalyst for, hey, maybe the 5-star tackle should take a pay cut. I did. Why shouldn't you? Mm-hmm. That kind of thing, right? If we want to play together, we're going to have to take a pay cut to do so. That's everywhere. They wanted to play together at Oregon, they were probably going to have to take a pay cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe not, but you know what I'm saying.
Well, and that's what, again, you talk about this all the time, the Kirby Smart discount. It's still very alive and well just because Georgia is spending more money than you're used to. And I was going to say, we talked about the Jared Curtis recruitment off air and things, and there were some numbers being floated around that. And the supposedly official numbers that Georgia took to land him were exponentially lower than what I thought they were going to be. So that's a great sign for Georgia. They're still spending money. They're still obviously reaching out and using funds more so than they ever have, but it's still not like they broke the bank to get this kid.
Mm-hmm. Going thrifty.
Yeah. I do think it is interesting that, and again, like this is, I shouldn't say this is anything new, but we hear this news about how Georgia's turning the faucets on. Yeah. They're getting ready to spin big. They're kind of living up to it more so than maybe they have in previous classes. So maybe it wasn't entirely wrong, but also going back to my original point of Georgia has been spending money this entire time.
They have. It's not nothing new, but for whatever reason, more so than ever this offseason, experts have been like, hey, Georgia's letting it rip this year, boys. They're spending money. It's
I honestly wish I knew. I wish I had more connections at schools like Oregon and schools like Texas and schools like Ohio State. Obviously, I'm loaded down with connections at Georgia, but I wish I had more connections at these other schools so I could hear their side of these stories. Because Georgia may seem like they're being thrifty, and Oregon's like, I can't believe they got these suckers believing these guys don't pay out the wazoo for these football players.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And maybe the truth, I guarantee you the truth's probably in the middle somewhere. But, yeah, Georgia, if you talk to people at Georgia, everyone takes pay cuts to come here. Everyone takes pay cuts to come here. Maybe, but the other side might think differently. Mm-hmm. I know when I talk to other coaches, they always be like, oh, well, Georgia got in the mix, so there it goes. You know what I mean? So, well, I would want to know what everybody – if you're another coach, listen to me. I'm not saying call me with all the dirt on Georgia. I just want to know your side of these stories because for 7 years now, I've been hearing the red and black side of the story. You know what I mean?
Yep. All right, let's talk about another offensive lineman that was already committed to the class. Graham Houston committed to the University of Georgia last week, the Buford offensive lineman. We've already talked about him on the show. We went and watched his film, but you have another piece of information that you wanted to add to this eval, Brooks.
Yeah, hey, first and foremost, go to Dropbox, okay?
Okay.
And pull up Spring Tour 2025. Pull up the clips of Graham Houston from practice. We'll watch that together, and you'll understand. I think it'll be a better visual picture of this segment. I was talking to a source yesterday about this, right? Sent this film off. Can you find it?
I'm getting there.
Sent this film off yesterday after having seen him at practice and was honest with you guys last night and told you I loved him a lot more in person than I ever thought I would. And it's because he's a high-effort football player. He's a really, really violent, physical football player on the offensive line that plays through the echo of the whistle and does all the right things and is a technically sound football player. And I'm sharing these opinions with a high-up source last night and late last night. And the response I got back was, I think he might be Dylan Fairchild.
Oh.
Which that's a lofty comparison for a football player who I think he's a 4-star. But Dylan Fairchild was like a top 100 recruit. So, and a third-round draft pick, fourth-round draft pick?
Third round
Draft pick. So let's go take a look at this. I haven't watched this since I recorded it through my phone. So I'm curious to see what this ultimately came out looking like. This is a good football player, guys, and he comes from a really high-end football program over there at Buford that is playing. I mean, he's playing really, really good football players on a down-to-down basis right here in this 3.5-minute clip that we're going to watch. Okay, he's going to move in and out from tackle to guard as well here on this tape. But you're going to see what I'm talking about. I mean, every rep is like this. We're finishing through contact. We're not falling off blocks. We're having to make sure we're listening to the whistle so coach doesn't get mad at him. This is Bryce Perry Wright directly across from him as well. If you see the camera pan, it's because I'm trying to get both of these kids in the clips together, okay? He's pulling right there. Good movement skills, finding at least the gap right there. I think that's the important thing when we watch young offensive linemen pull. Are you our running back at that point? When you're that second puller, you're trying to find grass no different than the running back. That's what he's trying to do right there. Thought he did a good job sifting through the trash, as we say, as offensive linemen. Okay, here he is at guard, which I think is going to be his natural position when he gets to college. I don't see quite the athleticism and twitch required to play tackle at the SEC level. Okay, but violent guard. I like the stance too. We got good hips. Okay. A little late shove right there. We used to get points for that in the offensive line room. If I pushed the defensive lineman right before the whistle and he stabbed me back, that's a point. Because in a game, we might get a personal foul.
Oh,
you know what I mean? We might do one of them. Hit the deck right quick and get a little free 15. Here he is at tackle again. I think we're gonna get some one-on-one reps later in the practice. I know. Inside veer release. Get your head across. All right, that's one of the reasons why I think he's a guard. First of all, he's built like a guard, but in high school, sometimes we have to play our best players out at tackle. All right, but that extra giddy up, right, to close this gap and get our head on the play side of that football player, that's the difference between an SEC guard and an SEC tackle, okay? think it's a one-on-one rep right here. This is the beginning of practice. It's a good base on this kid at all times, all right? Doesn't lean too far forward. This is a rep of Bryce Perry right. All right, but back to the conversation of the actual comp. Do you see Dylan Fairchild?
Maybe 18-year-old Dylan Fairchild, maybe
Yeah.
17-year-old Dylan Fairchild. I see the foundation there to become Dylan Fairchild.
Should be noted, I wasn't like 100% in love with Dylan coming out of West Forsyth. I thought it was going to be an immediate kick to guard as well. I questioned the foot speed. I love that he was a wrestler. I love that he's violent. I love that he's physical. Almost a lot of the same things that I'm going with here for this football player.
Yeah, so I mean, he's obviously very raw, needs some polishing, but I could see him becoming Dylan Fairchild. I could see this being a third-round pick in the NFL draft, but it's not a plug-and-play day-one starter.
I would push back on the rawness. This kid's been heavily coached far more than especially like some of the kids that we've watched on this network. This
maybe
is
not
Buford, baby.
maybe not as raw as I meant to say. Like, needs more polishing than anything.
I think the physicals need to come up.
Yes.
Right? We got a raw body right now. We got to get into a college body. Shove his face down in the ground, my man. All right. So there you see him. By the way, if you're a college coach watching, just call. There's like 20. How many guys did you see in that Dropbox file?
A lot.
Yeah. There's a lot. Okay. There's a lot of footage, and they all look like that. So yeah.
Pristine footage.
I had one coach. One coach was like, "Hey, you gonna do that Dropbox thing again this year?" I was like, "Yeah, coach, I am." He's like, "Man, you got the best footage. You're like in practice." I'm like, "Yeah, like I'm allowed to do that. You are not. When you go out there, you have to stand on the sideline. I get to go wherever the coach allows me to go, which at most of these places is kind of wherever I want to go."
Flex.
Shout out to those guys, man.
Let's just go ahead and stick with the recruiting talk when it comes to Georgia. Why Jared Curtis will be different from the previous five-star quarterbacks that have committed and played at the University of Georgia. This is going all the way back, like I mentioned earlier, to Matthew Stafford. And you'll notice the track record here isn't exactly great.
Is he the first Georgia quarterback ever with earrings?
Justin Fields' earrings.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Second quarterback ever with earrings. Continue. I like them, by the way. I could never pull them off. I tried. I didn't try, but I asked multiple times. And my brother was like, you're no, not happening. Thanks, Blake. Appreciate that. You saved me there.
It's a good brother.
Yeah.
Starting with Matthew Stafford, obviously this one ultimately did pan out for Stafford. He was the first overall pick in the draft. He has had a very successful career in the NFL. But kind of speaking to his time at the University of Georgia, it really never amounted to anything. As far as like winning a national title, winning the SEC, it was just kind of a lot of up and down throughout his time, which probably wasn't a lot of his fault. He didn't have a defense ever backing him. It was basically, all right, Stafford, go out there and lead us to 40 points or we're probably going to lose today. So that one kind of wraps that one up. Jacob Eason, I think there's a lot of reasons for this one. I think, one, he got thrown out there as soon as he basically got on campus. Like his only non-start was, I believe, North Carolina. Was that the only game he didn't start?
Correct.
And then after that, it was the Jacob Eason show in 2016. And there were some moments where it looked like this one was going to hit. And there were some other moments where it's like, still not there yet. I think he just kind of peaked too early. I think he peaked in high school, and then he hit his ceiling. And
ouch.
What I'm just saying.
Bro said he peaked in high school.
Bro said he peaked in high school.
Well, like
Crazy.
as far as his
damn,
crazy.
making me sound like a horrible person.
Crazy.
cooked his ass.
Just saying, as far as developmental stages, like it just kind of felt like hit the ceiling, and then it never progressed any further than that.
Is Jacob Eason still on a pro roster?
No.
Last I saw, he was with the Panthers.
If he is, he's on the practice squad, I believe. I don't think he's on the 53. But I mean, also
He is not.
But we're also on like he's been out of college for 6 or 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like it's a bad.
I figured that Chooch was considerably hired for like eternity.
Yeah,
Until
you
he
would
just
think.
wanted to stop playing.
Just go rip it in practice squad,
But
baby.
just go seed to seed with anybody out there.
Then going to
I didn't watch him enough. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
I definitely didn't watch him enough in Washington. I damn sure didn't watch him in the league. Did he just not see the field?
just
Could he not progress
inaccurate.
through reads?
Inaccurate, didn't see the
Inaccurate.
field. If he wasn't directly like stepping up in the pocket and making a throw, it was very wild. It was very inconsistent.
The more and more I study quarterbacks, the more and more I realize they're all accurate when nothing, like when it's all on air. They all throw so many footballs nowadays. They all can kind of put it where they want to. But that's why I am so adamant about tying feet to eyes, because when bullets start flying and you're just sporadic with all of your mechanics, you're going to spray the ball all over the place.
Yeah,
and I think that's what his problem was.
Yeah,
he was spraying all over the place for sure.
Justin Fields, there wasn't patience to wait. He didn't want to wait to be the starter at the University of Georgia. Had he waited 2 years, I think we all know that one probably would have hit. That one would have resulted in a very similar situation that it did at Ohio State.
Bennett.
Exactly. The butterfly effect. You don't get Stetson Bennett. But had that worked out in an alternate universe, but again, you just never saw it outside of a couple of snaps.
Is that the butterfly effect or the ripple effect?
I think they're the same thing pretty much. Different terms.
Leaf falls in a forest type deal.
Yeah. Brock Vandagriff was a 5-star as well. Just never panned out. I don't think it just never was set up to where it was going to work out at Georgia. The room got very crowded. His window of opportunity to go play just didn't happen in time for him to do it at the University of Georgia, so he went and did it at Kentucky. So that's another one to this one. So that leads into the final question of
he should have went to Auburn. I'm sorry.
I agree
again.
with you.
That dude should have played at Auburn last year. He would have lit Hugh Freeze's offense up. Pick and stick RPO. Oh my God! Quarterback's legs involved.
Yeah,
should have went to Auburn.
The deer's bigger in Kentucky.
I guess bass bigger in Auburn.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, they are.
So that leads to the final question of why will this one be different than all of those other quarterbacks? Why is this one going to be the one that just pans out the whole way through, where Jared Curtis ends his career with a national title ring and he is a first-round draft pick and all of the things?
Are you asking?
I'm asking.
Oh, Lord.
I have some reasons.
First and foremost, I think he's a far more not far more. He's a more talented thrower than Justin. I think he's a more polished product coming out accurate-wise, a better thrower of the football right now than my man Eason, and who is like the Vandagriff thing we've explained.
Yeah.
The throwing motion is way cleaner right now than Vandagriff.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of reasons, I guess, to at least to put him over those other guys. I think of all the maybe not Fields. Fields would have probably been higher rated.
Or Stafford.
Oh, the Stafford thing worked out. You just didn't win a national title.
Yeah.
That worked. You just didn't have a defense.
That's what I'm saying is like this one, though.
You can't tell me Matt Stafford's career at Georgia didn't live up to his 5-star status. He went 1-1.
Yeah. That's the definition of living up to it.
Confirmed.
But the two reasons that I gave is, first off, he will be surrounded by a complete team. Not that any of these other guys didn't have the opportunity to do that, but Jacob Eason and Matthew Stafford certainly didn't have this luxury of being surrounded by complete teams. Matthew Stafford had the weapons. They had the offense, but as I mentioned earlier, they didn't have a defense that they could rely on in tough situations and maybe could bail them out in a couple of games. And then Jacob Eason, it was just Kirby Smart's first year. The weapons weren't exactly what they are now, and the defense certainly was not up to the standard. Whereas Jared Curtis is entering a stage where you're a very balanced football team, or what we believe he will be entering when he is a starter at the University of Georgia, or if he becomes a starter at the University of Georgia. It will be a very balanced team. He can rely on the defense. And number two, I have never heard Georgia's coaching staff talk about a quarterback prospect like this, to where it felt like this one was the must-have, end-all, be-all. Never seen anything like it. I've never heard anything like that, and we continue to put blind faith in this coaching staff because of what their resume is, because of what the lineage is, and I think that's a reason to believe why this one will be different as well.
That's one of the exact same reasons I have. I've never seen it. I don't think you've ever seen the, quote, financial urgency that Georgia had in regards to this prospect. Georgia, like you said, highest rank they've had in 3 years since quarterback position, since we believe Arch Manning. Arch Manning likely is going to work out for Texas. So, yes, there are a lot of start similarities of, Brock Vandagriff played, lower A ball. So did he. Is that going to be an issue? We've heard I've had the sports car driving quarterback. That didn't work out. Yada, 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 yada. Georgia believes. And that's honestly that Georgia believes more than they've ever believed in any other prospect, I think. And their track record of believing in guys and staying with them is pretty damn good. That's why I think it's going to be different. It could absolutely be wrong. We could be sitting here 3 years later and going, well, the Jared Curtis sweepstakes were kind of a flame out. I don't think that's what's going to happen.
I also think you didn't leverage yourself near as bad as most people thought you were going to have to.
Agreed.
$2 million over 2 years, not that bad.
No.
Not that bad at all.
Yeah, no.
So, I think you're good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you leveraged yourself as bad as it sounded like it was going to be.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I think that this recruitment ended better, and the clarity that was received after after the commitment made some people kind of say, "Oh, okay."
And you just at least you didn't go all in on him, right? Like you went all in on Arch, and it really jacked you up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
You had a contingency plan.
this was you hit the nail on the head. This was far and away their guy.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about it yesterday, or Monday when he committed. You had a guy that had an All-American eval, and then everybody else was a winnable eval. That's what it was. So they got the All-American eval.
And I also don't want to throw previous prospects under the bus when I say this, but it's felt like it's been a few seasons since Georgia has signed a quarterback in the room. The entire program feels like that's the guy we wanted, that's the guy we got. Not that we don't like the other quarterbacks we've signed, but it's also like this was choice one and we landed him.
Yeah.
I
mean, that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Ryan Montgomery was the highest rated quarterback on their board last year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's what you're alluding to. I'll put a name to it. Ryan Montgomery's a great quarterback, but I don't think he was 1-1 in their draft if they could draft everybody. This guy was.
Mm-hmm.
And you landed him. So congratulations. I don't think you need to be worried.
Well, we took a little turn down memory lane a little bit there, talking about former 5-star quarterbacks to go to Georgia. So let's continue down that path, Christian. And Brooks, feel free to join in on this one. You've evaluated a lot of players as well. You can hash out some of my guys that you had over the years, some of your favorite commitments. So we're going to talk about our top 5 commits that we were most excited about all time at the University of Georgia. Kirby, go ahead. Start it off for us. Who's number 1 on your list?
Starting off at number 1 on my list, it honestly, this is a nostalgia thing for me. This is maybe a local bias. It was Justin Fields. To have played him in high school, to have said that's the number 1 quarterback. He's committed to Penn State right now. Oh, he did commit from Penn State. He's now committed to Georgia. Seeing all his highlights, seeing what he did against opposing teams, like having literally every video available of him making plays, was like, God, this guy is incredible. I was bought in on Justin Fields. I thought that he was going to be a program-changing player. Didn't necessarily work out that way, but he was an incredible college quarterback. So Justin Fields was my 1-1 for the most excited I've ever been for a prospect.
My 1-1 was the easiest name to come up with on this list, and it's for multiple reasons. One, this is a very talented player, and this was also coming at a time where Georgia was stringing together multiple really talented players at this position, and then you go and get another one. DeAndre Swift. I mean, I was so excited about DeAndre Swift coming in, knowing that you knew Nick Chubb and Sony Michel were about to leave the roster. Now you're adding in DeAndre Swift. Plus, the commitment video is the best commitment video I've ever seen before. We're driving freaking slingshots around the downtown area.
That was the Creed. That was like Creed inspired, correct?
I believe so. And then you were doing donuts around the Georgia logo on the asphalt. It was a whole production. We used to be a proper country. We used to actually do commitment videos the right way. DeAndre Swift, one of the last ones to do it, and I was super pumped about it.
Business call.
Go ahead, Kirby.
Yeah. All right. Number 2 on my list, and this is another nostalgia one. Definitely wasn't old enough to understand the recruiting process, but the fact that this guy did this, I was bought in, dude. Isaiah Crowell committing, bringing out the Bulldog puppy, dude. 10-year-old Christian was so in on this. Like, oh, my God, he has a puppy. Obviously, Isaiah Crowell had a really good 2011 season. Didn't go great after that, but I was very excited to have
Picked
Isaiah
it back
Crowell.
up in the pros, though.
Had
Had a couple seasons.
A stint with the Browns back when they were where careers went to die.
Are you already on round 2?
Yeah.
Round 1, Broderick Jones.
Fair.
Was a dude. I mean, it was so great at Lithonia. And I don't know if I'll ever go back to Lithonia. I hope maybe one day soon. And I actually never even watched them practice because that was in the middle of COVID. But, man, I've told that story on air before. That guy was a walking legend in his county already before he went to college. And I remember him almost being too much of a legend. Do you guys remember the time Broderick Jones may or may not have been caught doing donuts on a dirt bike?
Oh, no.
Y'all don't remember that?
I do not remember this.
Y'all remember when he may or may not have hurt his hand on a dirt bike?
I do not remember this.
Yeah. Broderick was my 1-1. I thought there was no way this guy isn't a first-round draft pick. He was.
All right, number 2.
Round 2, Kristen Miller. Kristen Miller was my guy. I interviewed him for the first time. I'd known about him, but I interviewed him for the first time after an Under Armour event. He was 14 years old, and better scout on this one than even him as a player. I told him after doing that interview, I said, "You're gonna be on television one day, dude." First, I said, how many interviews have you done? He was like, "That was the first one ever." And I was like, "You're gonna be on television." Like that was it was like breathing for the kid. It was like that. It was so easy. It was like having a conversation with a human. Most of the time, you put a camera in a kid's face, it's like
human.
But it's not like that. You've done these interviews at this point.
They very robotic.
Very robotic, cookie cutter. This kid was not, and he has never been cookie cutter to this day. Even shot his commitment video. I don't feel any different about something. I love that kid. I love Christian Miller. When my son broke his leg, and I put my wife put the X-ray up on her Instagram page, and I reposted it like, "Hey, prayers up to my little man." I got a phone call from Kristen immediately. "Hey, is Carter okay?" Only time I'd ever spoken to him since he's gone to Georgia. But it's like, I got to check on him. That guy, my guy, Kristen Miller.
Hell yeah.
And going back to the interviews, like when you do get a good one, it is a breath of fresh air. It's like, man, that was the coolest thing ever. That was such a great interview. So definitely understand that one. Number two for me, I guess I never got to my number two.
You didn't.
Jacob Eason. Going from, especially considering what the circumstances were at this point of you had just gone 2 years of Hudson Mason playing quarterback and Grayson Lambert playing quarterback. Not horrible college quarterbacks, but not the best by any means either, especially considering that you went from Aaron Murray to then those two, and then you're also transitioning from the Mark Richt era to the Kirby Smart era, and then you land a 5-star in Jacob Eason, the number 1 player in the country. You want to talk about breaths of fresh air. That was it right there. Like, whoa, we're already set. Kirby's already got this thing rolling. This is the new standard here. Super pumped about that one.
My number two, around 2014, 2015 is when I really, really got into the sport of boxing. Really started understanding, it's going somewhere.
I was about to say.
Good Lord. It's getting into the sport of boxing, really understanding the history of that, the Mike Tyson. So when I heard that Evander Holyfield's son was a running back prospect for Georgia, and then Georgia landed him, I was ecstatic. I was like, this is incredible. Evander Holyfield's son, Elijah Holyfield, incredible recruit. Panned out for Georgia, honestly. I gave you
solid career.
Gave you 2 1,000-yard seasons. Could have given you a third if he stayed for his senior year. Probably should have the way his NFL career went, but I was extremely excited for Elijah Holyfield.
The next one for me, most of these are hits for me, guys that actually panned out and were really successful for Georgia. And this one had an okay career at Georgia, but considering what he was coming into the program to what he ended up being, certainly didn't live up to the hype. But Trenton Thompson, coming out of high school, another top player in the country, another Kirby Smart get in the class. And again, he was a solid player for Georgia. He was a rotational guy. He started multiple years for them as well. He had a big moment against Alabama in 2018 where he laid out, what was the guy's name?
He was like Sims or something. Don't even remember.
Can't even remember the guy's name.
Number 17, you got your shit done by Trenton Thompson.
It was one of the coolest plays I've ever watched, of watching a defensive lineman just decleat a wide receiver running in open space. I was so pumped about that one, and I hated that it didn't pan out the way that I thought it would.
Do you want to give another one to you?
Major Burns.
Huh.
Oh, my God, Major Burns' high school highlight tape. I thought it was Tyreek Stevenson. It was a year removed from Tyreek being my holy grail of defensive tape in 2019. And that kid, I think, signed in 2020. And I was dead set, this is the next one. Like, this is going to be a dominant star projection for these guys. I didn't know that it seems like he couldn't run. I think that was the problem. It seemed like the problem at LSU. Definitely didn't play fast enough out there from my book.
Unfortunate last name.
For a DB.
Yeah, for a DB.
Had he been a wide receiver? Oh, yeah.
Number 4 on my list, it panned out, just not at Georgia. I thought Clay Webb was a freak in high school. I just didn't realize 6'2" don't play in the SEC. Like, no matter how good the practice tape is, 6'2" don't play.
Clay Webb or Mark Webb?
Clay Webb.
Okay.
Clay Webb.
He didn't get
center. That was actually a guard. He's an NFL guard. He's in the NFL.
Yeah, but what you were getting at 6'2" don't play in the SEC, it also kind of resulted in his draft stock because he was super successful in college, but he didn't get drafted like he was one of the best offensive linemen in
Where
college.
did he get drafted?
I want to say like the 5th round.
Okay.
Let me look that up real quick. Kirby, give your next
Well,
one.
I mean, I was in love with him out of high school. But looking back on it, I know what was going on. Undersized, scrappy, through the echo of the whistle, interior offensive lineman, probably projects as a center. I thought that was the best version of me.
Oh, he was undrafted. He's now with the Broncos.
Number 4 on my list was another guy who, this was, again, peak commitment days, peak signing day, peak of being excited about that. Roquan Smith's flip from UCLA to Georgia was super exciting. I was very, very excited about that. And then when you heard he was going to wear number 3 right after Todd Gurley had left, this was at the end of the
This
Todd
was a
Gurley.
National Signing Day flip, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. He flipped the hat.
I
and
skipped
everything.
school to watch it.
Back when, again, we used to be a proper country. You're right, J.O. Signing day used to mean something. Now it's bullshit. But no, Roquan Smith was a lot of fun to watch.
One of the few days I was ever allowed to skip school. It was always National Signing Day by my choice because I loved it so much. I love the idea of sitting in front of my TV on my laptop, following recruiting all day, checking in on the different recruitment picks and everything. Like, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Skipping school was not an option.
It wasn't either for me, but I got one day, and that was my one day.
I do. Even on sick days, it was like, oh, you can play video games? You must be feeling better.
That's why you didn't want to be sick.
Do some chores.
Because if you were sick, then it's not like you're going to be having fun anyways.
Do some chores is crazy.
Do you remember, did you ever walk in your parents' room and be like, oh, I don't feel good, and your mom just goes, oh, where's the thermometer? Just, oh, my God.
Did make it seem like it was the biggest inconvenience in the
They
world.
would be
Of
like, God damn it.
what do you mean you don't feel
What
good?
do you mean you don't feel good?
You know what? I feel a little bit better now.
Try
I
to
think
go
I'll
to
just go to school.
Try to go to school and see how you do. Throw up in second period.
Number 4 for me was Leonard Floyd. This was during a time where, like, I think I was about 13 years old, 12 years old maybe, when Leonard Floyd committed to the University of Georgia. And at this age, I really hadn't started tapping into recruitment, like doing it on my own. And my dad would give me these, if my dad had a My Guy list, this would have been at the top of his My Guy list. Leonard Floyd was. And he'd be like, son, I got to tell you about this guy named Leonard Floyd that Georgia just got. And he'd go down and give me the breakdown of it. I get super pumped about it, obviously, because my dad was, but.
Oh, no, I put it against Lorenzo Carter, not Leonard Floyd.
Yeah, Leonard
Lorenzo
Floyd.
Carter just absolutely rocked my shit my sophomore year. He was still playing at a little private school called Whitfield before he went to Norcross. And he was playing a wide 9. I was playing tackle. It was a goal line situation. He cut across my face and helmet to helmet lit my shit up. And my dad, after that game, was like, son, I think studying's really important. I think studying's really important.
Maybe this football thing ain't for you.
Probably not. You're definitely not going to make a living around the world of football.
Well, I'm not playing good at least. A little shot at the father.
Now we
All right,
hear.
Interesting. Have you gotten to 5 yet, or?
I have not, but I can give it.
Go ahead.
Jalen Carter, plain and simple.
Yeah.
I mean, just enough said. That was probably one of the most hyped up recruits that I can remember in my lifetime of before he even got to Georgia. It's like, this one's going to hit. You don't even have to worry about it. Don't lose sleep over this one. As soon as he gets to Georgia, this guy is going to be projected as a first rounder. It's never going to move. The needle never moved for him. I mean, that guy started and he was playing as a true freshman, and for the entire time this is one of the best players in college
I will
football.
say this, Coach. Julian Rochester got a little bit too long of a leash there early in 2020. Probably should have been playing the generational guy.
Respect
on the road, Alabama, COVID season. Jalen Carter probably should have been on the field.
They were throwing that man touchdowns though, so
They were.
That's
true.
to be fair,
game.
he
Fair
was
game.
getting touchdown passes.
Fair
in
game there.
2020.
Now, question about this game. Does this guy have to have played at Georgia?
No, not for you.
I
That's
think
fine.
Not for you, because
My favorite recruit that I've ever covered all time, I will tell my kids I watched that kid when he was 17 years old. It's Caleb Downs.
That's fair.
16 years old. Nope, 14 years old. I filmed him for the first time at an Oliver Davis workout his freshman year. He was still just had started at Mill Creek.
Yeah, it's a valid one.
Freak football player. One of one human being, one of one football brain as well.
My last one is also kind of the one you talk about how you seeing this with your dad and being excited. This is also the first commit of the Kirby Smart era where I was like, oh, things are changing. It was Isaiah Wilson. Seeing him being at 6'7", just dismantling people, I was like, oh my God, we've got it. We're going to win a national title. And Isaiah Wilson did start for a few years, and Georgia did eventually win a national title, but
About 1-1.
what were you about to say?
I was about to say, if we could track down Isaiah Wilson, do you think he'd make an intro music for us? You think
Maybe.
You think him and DJ can get on track together?
Maybe.
I bet DJology would be all over that.
Mm-hmm.
He'd be like, what? Yeah, the Panda Man coming through? Is that what his rap name was? Wasn't it like DJ Panda or something like that?
I don't know.
The Rap Panda?
I heard one song and said, I've heard enough of this. Thank you.
That's his music made me want to drink lean. You know? Never been into it.
Interesting. I can't ever say there's ever been anything that made me want to drink lean, but It's good to know you're
Just
fighting.
double cup, dog.
Glad to know you're fighting internal battles over
Just
there.
demons.
You want to go spin the wheel, Brooks?
Yeah, I'll spin the wheel.
Jay, will you get the wheel ready for us, please?
DJ name is GG Bowser.
That's sick. GG Bowser.
Bowser
his
with
real
a Z.
rap name?
Yeah, DJ Bowser or
Play
GG
some of
Bowser.
his shit. Ain't no way we get copyright striked on that
Oh
on
my
YouTube.
God.
Yeah, DJ Bowser's crazy. What was his lyrics like? I don't even remember. Wasn't he like one of them cry noises, the Uzi Vert trend? What we got
Cry
here?
rappers?
Cry rappers. They sound like they whining when they're on the rap.
Oh,
If you'd like to listen to some of his music, he released an EP titled Layup Lines.
What year?
I have no idea. 2021.
That boy didn't hoop.
2021.
He ain't hooper.
In the Big Apple? You don't think he was hooping? I bet he
he's
was.
definitely hooping in the Big Apple.
Probably hooping. Too stiff to hoop though.
Maybe not organized hooping, but
Organized.
On the blacktop hoop.
yeah.
He's in the
All right.
layup lines.
Next biggest need in 2026 class. Sign Mark Bowman,
Yeah, that's a good one.
right? I think the Cantwell thing feels pretty good right about now. Curtis is wrapped up. If it's not going to be tight end, maybe running back. Defensive side of the football, you got to pick I don't think you need to sign a superstar linebacker this class, considering how deep the room is. Tyler Atkinson wouldn't hurt.
What about
sure
the
as hell wouldn't hurt.
What about the defensive back room? I feel like that's always one where
Yeah.
it's like you always need at least one or two
I think they're
playable
going to
bodies.
take they already took the stab on Keelan Jones. They got Zach Fort, I think is how you pronounce that, in the room as well. That's a football loving SOB. I talked to a guy that coached him at IMG Academy. First thing he said was that guy loves football.
Those are both safeties, though, right?
Yeah, so I don't know what they're going to do at corner right about now. I think they're going to try to flip Jordan Edmonds. I would. I would be trying to flip Jordan Edmonds. And here's how I know. I got asked if I'm going by Sprayberry. I'll get asked. I'm not getting asked if I'm going by Sprayberry for Keelan Jones. You know what I mean?
Right.
Are you going to go – like tomorrow I got a guy I'm going seeing just because they want to see. You know? So there's that. I ain't going to tell you who that one is.
That's fine.
I'll tell you on Patreon. Patreon.com/BricksOff.
There you go.
Plug. Shameless.
Chat
Let's
one.
spin this thing again.
Chat want to know who called you earlier.
A high school coach asked me to come to a practice.
Ah.
I get those now this time of the year. And I understand why that coach called me because I was all in his area the last couple of days, and I didn't slide by him. For the first time in 4 years doing this, I didn't go by his place. Who is this year's Jalen Walker? Breakout?
As in, like, not the
Yeah.
guy that's going to be the hybrid linebacker, but as far as, like, the draft stock is going to skyrocket.
I thought you were throwing me a oop. Chris Cole!
No.
Too easy?
No layup lines
No layup
over
lines.
here.
Justin Williams, nationally, I don't think people realize how good that kid is. They gonna find out this year.
They're usually, it's like, the linebacker room is
Oh no! Quintavious Johnson.
Quintavious Johnson is
He's
one-
gonna play so many snaps. It's gonna be impossible for him not to pop.
I also think, too, like, Xavier McLeod has the opportunity to do this.
McLeod.
I'm gonna go Zion. I'm gonna go Zion Branch.
There
like
you go.
that.
Good shout there.
I think Zion Branch could give you some really, really fun safety
Hey,
play.
while I'm over here, we had some super chubs here earlier, and my man from Texas, Fugger, my man Fake Sugar, wasn't that Splendid Daddy?
yeah,
He probably
Splendid
ain't even-
Daddy.
He probably ain't even here right now.
No, he
to
isn't.
let me know that I recognize that you were talking about Texas being the what did you call it? The SEC runs through Texas.
It's because I put him at 3.
We all did. We all ranked Texas above Georgia.
And
It's on
little did he
paper.
know we did that just to get $20 out of him.
I also think Texas was ranked higher than Georgia both times when they played last year.
Yeah.
They
Is that
were.
correct? So, Splendid Daddy. We're going to put him in big capital letters as Fugger. How about that? He going to pay $20 to not have his name on here, right? That's unfortunate for Fugger. But, hey, here he is. My man Fugger. Hey, I don't know too many super chubs on this channel that have their own nickname. I don't know how many listeners on this channel have their own nickname from us. Shout out to Fugger.
Hell yeah! Shout out Fugger. Another one.
Hey, Coach, this is Fug.
Good Lord.
One more time. Oh, man, I can't wait for it this year. Hey, yo, Coach, this is Bug. UGA trivia, hit it on me. What you got for me today?
All right, name all of the losses from Georgia's 2015 season. I'll give you a hint. There were three of them.
I ain't got that.
2015?
2015.
I'm out, dude. I ain't got that.
Georgia
I'll lose.
Tech. Right?
Incorrect.
Missouri.
Missouri.
2015?
2015. Get the one.
Missouri counts?
Missouri?
Did they lose?
Oh
Missouri?
no, yeah, I'm thinking of
Vandy?
the other Georgia Tech game.
Not lose. You're thinking of the 2014 season.
I'm out of guesses. This is really tough. Man.
Florida. That was the unfortunate Fat and Bada gets a start.
Yes, it was.
Did not go to plan.
No, it was not.
Trying to remember. I mean, obviously the East played.
You're missing a very, very obvious one.
Oh, Alabama.
Alabama.
You got stomped by them.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to give you one name, and this will give it to you. Reggie Davis.
Oh, Tennessee.
Yep.
I hate how I have to remember Reggie Davis's career like that, but it's true, Reggie. I'm sorry. You dropped it, man.
It's either North Texas or Tennessee that Reggie Davis makes me think.
The North
of.
Texas one, at least a good one.
Yeah, at least a 97-yard
I was at that
touchdown
game.
reception.
It was raining and it was miserable, but that moment was pretty cool.
Yeah. No, but that Tennessee loss, that one hurt, and then the one next year after that hurt even more. But fun little trivia game for the Dog fans. I know, Brooks, that's probably not as much your forte. You were you even in college in 2015?
Yeah, I was a sophomore in college.
Damn, you're old, dude.
Yeah. Redshirt freshman, technically, on the field.
Why you got to do them like that?
I was getting heavy PT in 2015.
I was
Beat SEMO that year.
I was 12 years old in 2015, or it's 13 years old in 2015.
I think I had concussion number 2 in 2015.
Dang. We have nostalgia
Good
tape
that I
for
can
you.
remember that, right?
Yeah. That's good.
Back to the board?
We have nostalgia tape. Let him pull it up first.
All right.
Give me a minute.
I'll go ahead and give you a rundown on this player, though. I don't know how easy it's going to be recognized. It's definitely a player you watched, you covered. Definitely one that should be prominent. It's a prominent name. We've talked about him a lot. He was on the national championship winning team, but I don't necessarily know how recognizable his tape is.
All right.
Why are you standing like that, bro? Fix your posture.
This is my I'm waiting.
I'm waiting.
Okay, well, you're done waiting.
No more waiting.
Here we go. Starting it off on special teams.
Ooh, a little tight-hipped. Boom. What number we got wearing? Is that 16? What an ugly high school number to be rocking.
Yeah, it's pretty gross.
What do we have going on here? This is an out-of-state kid.
Yes.
I don't recognize the uniforms. That normally helps me.
I believe this is Maryland.
Did this guy, he moved down closer to the box in college?
Not exactly.
Yeah, not really.
So he played nickel.
No.
No. This was a safety.
Huh. This is not, this can't be, J.R. Reed, can it?
This is not J.R. Reed. Little after J.R. Reed.
Stuck at safety, played on the national championship team. It's not Richard LeCount. It's not J.R. Reed.
This high school tape is very akin to what his college tape would look like.
That helps me nothing.
That might
It
have.
should.
That play should have helped.
should.
Is this Lewis Seen?
This is
Yeah.
Lewis Seen.
Oh, the 16.
Yeah,
Should've
that's
gave
when
it
when you
away.
said
When you
is he
said
wearing
16, I was like,
about
oh,
to
he's
get it.
got it.
16 is such an ugly number. Why does he look thicker in high school than he does in college?
He lost weight in college, I think, or I
thought this was a guy that put on 20 pounds and got into the box. This kid's big.
I don't know if it's on this tape, but I was watching a high school on YouTube. There's a play where he hawks down a guy from at least 50,
Oh, yeah.
Dude,
7
that
or
does
8
not
yards
look
away.
like Lewis Seen.
I love the amount of special teams plays in here.
Yeah, I would have. I'm surprised I finally got that. I didn't. I mean,
Just
Jesus.
put it in the highlight.
But now that you say it, does it?
Honest to God, the college tape's better than the high school tape. The
Yeah.
high school tape's like just okay. The college tape is, my God, watch out in the alley.
Yeah, I mean, he was a first-round pick because of that.
Yeah.
Like, his ability to fill alleys and just strike fear into wide receivers coming over the middle was literally what got him in the first round.
Now, I know he can run fast in a straight line. I just never saw ball skills or the ability to turn and run.
Yeah.
Everything about Lewis Seen is downhill. And that's, first of all, injuries are a major concern right now in the NFL. He hadn't been staying healthy. Linear frame, super linear frame, not a lot of muscle mass on the guy. But the other thing is the ball skills. I've never felt like he ever disrupted the ball. He might have disrupted your mouthpiece, but never the ball. And this is a ball sport. The ball is important.
Disrupted your brain.
The ball is important. Disrupted your brain, rattled your cranium, all that good stuff.
Which, I mean, I think that's why, honestly, he's a linebacker now, because the downhill playing, quick, hits hard.
The Giants started that with him, right?
I believe so. Now he's with the Eagles.
Is he still playing linebacker with the Eagles, or is he playing safety?
When I looked at our lads last, he was projected as a safety.
Okay.
So
I like him as a backer. If we could get that joker to like 225, play him on third downs, woof.
I don't know if he's got the frame for 225.
I don't either. But
I think he was
Campbell's extra chunky soup might get him there.
soup.
So I don't know. Send him down my way. We'll put weight on him.
Soup.
We'll figure it out.
Good soup.
You don't remember the I don't know why that came to my mind. You don't remember the we were talking Eagles, that's why. ADD brain. You don't remember the Campbell's Chunky Soup commercials with Donovan McNabb?
Vaguely.
Y'all aren't old enough for that.
I remember the Michael Strahan one where he rings the doorbell and then like sacks him as he opens it. That was a pizza commercial, wasn't it?
I think so. I've also been watching a lot of George Lopez lately, and Donovan McNabb makes an appearance, and Lopez makes a Campbell Soup joke. And I remembered that Donovan McNabb's mom was in all of the Campbell Soups commercials. She would have been modern day famous. They would have made her a thing on the internet nowadays.
She'd been a meme.
Not a meme. The internet would have fell in love with her. That kind of thing. Almost like Sister Jean.
Okay.
Sister Jean's a meme.
Okay.
To a degree.
A lighthearted meme.
Yeah, lighthearted meme.
Like a beloved meme.
Yeah, I mean, there's some memes out there that are not lighthearted at all. They're funny, though.
Apparently, they still got the Chunky Campbell Soup commercials.
I think
I've never had Chunky Campbell Soup.
Me either.
I think the only Campbell Soup territory I'm venturing in is tomato.
Oh, we were a chicken noodle household.
Okay.
Yeah.
And only if
Oh no. SpaghettiOs. That's a Campbell's product, isn't it?
Probably.
there is a SpaghettiOs, yes. I was more of the Chef Boyardee type of guy.
Of course you were.
Yes.
Of course.
What's that supposed to mean?
You're a raviolis guy?
No. I want the spaghetti and meatballs.
I'm a big SpaghettiOs guy. I'd mess up a whole batch of SpaghettiOs
They don't taste as good as you remember.
You don't think so?
No.
I bet them bitches hit.
It's super sweet. Like it just feels like there's a lot of sugar in it.
Probably because there is.
Yeah, exactly.
You know when you're eating something, you're like, this is bad for me.
That's what
That's
like.
what it tastes like.
Yeah, that thought never crossed my mind until I was about 25, which is why I probably looked away at you.
Nah, man. Just gotta keep eating better. You know what Charles Barkley says: if it tastes good, spit it out.
Were you a Pebbles guy or like a regular cereal guy? Like, were you a Cocoa Puffs or Cocoa Pebbles guy?
I was Cocoa Puffs, but Fruity Pebbles.
Were you a Trix, like normal Trix or Trix in the
Are you talking
Pebbles
like generic brand versus name brand?
No. I'm talking about they had an actual cereal that was like chopped up like fine. They were called Pebbles.
Yeah.
Cocoa Pebble or
Fruity Pebbles. It has Flintstones on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, Fruity Pebbles,
Fruity
but
Pebbles.
Cocoa Puffs.
Oh yeah. No, I was always a Cocoa
Puffs also made a Pebbles version of it too.
Did. Now they got the minis.
I think that was. Yeah, I don't know.
By the way, Trix was trash.
Nothing would make your milk more chocolatey than chocolate Pebbles.
That's
Cocoa Pebbles.
facts.
The Cocoa Puffs just didn't hit as hard afterwards. But you get a bowl of Cocoa Pebbles, that's gonna be real authentic chocolate milk at the end of that joker.
You know what didn't get enough love back in the day? Pops.
I thought you were gonna go Reese's Puffs.
No, they got plenty of plenty of love.
Peanut butter chocolatey flavor.
That commercial was a banger, dude. No, Pops were great, and no one ever talks about that.
Pops is a cereal that you're fine eating if there's no other options left.
That's a great shout.
Like
that's not an insult.
Anything cornmeal based, you know.
Like if I don't have my Fruity Pebbles or I don't have my Cocoa Puffs, but I got Pops, I'm not too disappointed. I still got Pops. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is king, though.
Say what now?
Cinnamon Toast Crunch is king, though.
Ooh.
Tier 1.
I was definitely a Reese's Puffs guy.
I was a Frosted Flakes guy.
By the way, don't read a label on a Reese's Puff. Oh my god.
Don't read a label on any of those cereals,
Holy
dude.
hell.
RFK will break down your door and kick your ass.
Hey, shout out to the no red dye. We've been a no red dye family before it was cool.
Set the trend.
Trendsetters round.
Congratulations, man.
Appreciate you guys being here. We'll see you on Thursday. Love you. Bye. Oh, I probably should